Kansas City is a sporting town, and the fans are excited by the Chiefs' NFL prospects, and the Royals are having a winning season. Those teams have rich histories, and we're about to make history as sports car racing heats up Kansas Speedway. The Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series. Intense, no-holds-barred racing at its best. With multiple classes and multiple drivers per car on the greatest road courses in the world. The cars, Daytona prototypes. Sleek, fast, and loud, designed with but one purpose in mind: speed on the racetrack. Grand Touring, these cars represent exclusive sports cars seen on the roads and in auto shows around the world. A manufacturer's best. Modified for the challenges and stresses found only on track. Racing for 3, 6, 12, and even 24 hours makes these contests truly a team sport. The intense competition means that one mistake by a driver or crew member can be dramatic and disastrous. The drivers are fearless gladiators who tame the high speeds and battle the elements and, of course, each other. Young guns looking to etch their names on trophies that will forever record their success. And, of course, an old guard representing decades of winning in championships, always looking for just one more. Together, they represent a grid of some of the best race car drivers in the world, racing at some of the world's most renowned circuits. Tonight, the battle lines have been drawn across the high-speed banking and challenging new infield road course at Kansas Speedway. The fight has been taken to America's heartland, and it unfolds next on Fox Sports.
Maybe I'm a different breed. Maybe I'm a listening. So right now, baby.
There he goes to the inside. His contact. No, they got robbed. Look at this, side by side. Unbelievable. Kansas City and the Kansas Speedway, Fox Sports brings you the excitement that is the Grand Am Rolex Sports Car Series. The Rolex Sports Car SFP Grand Prix is up next. So pleased to be a part of Fox Sports and the Rolex Sports Car Series. A beautiful evening in Kansas City to do just that. Welcome everyone. I'm Brian Till, along with Calvin Fish and Dorsey Schrader, both championship winning drivers and sports car experts. And 3 races are left in the 2013 season, guys, and the championship battles are still up for grabs in Daytona Prototype and in Grand Touring. Anytime you bring intense championship battles to a brand new racetrack, you're assured of some epic battles throughout the field, Calvin.
Brian, it's going to be exciting here tonight. This championship is perfectly poised. It's like a really good basketball game going into that final quarter with the teams close. Right now we have 10 drivers in the Daytona Prototype Championship within 12 points of one another, and in the GT ranks, 8 drivers within 16 points, and there are 35 points on the table here tonight alone. So Dorsey, it's really tight right now, and they're going to play for on their playing field tonight, Kansas Speedway, a racetrack they've never competed on before. It's going to be tight. There's a lot of unknown questions here.
Well, the teams have been thrown a curveball at the road, a 2.37-mile roval. Part road race course, part oval. Unique Kansas City is that they run mainly the oval itself. 9/10 of the oval is used before you go into the 6th-turn infield. Now that infield is very tight and hard to pass on. You look at the speeds, 188 miles an hour to 41. It's going to be tough on brakes, tough on tires, and maybe tough on tempers.
Well, let's take a look at tonight's storylines. Leading the Daytona Prototype class is the #2 Starworks Motorsport BMW, a Venezuelan driver, Alex Popov, and his Scottish teammate, Ryan Dial. The duo just missed their first championship last year, losing out to the defending championship BMW team of Chip Ganassi Racing, led by 3-time Rolex 24 at Daytona winner, Memo Rojas, and co-driver Scott Pruitt, one of the most accomplished sports car drivers in the world.
In second place is the number 99 Gainsco Racing Chevy Corvette, known as the Red Dragon. The Californian duo of John Fogerty and Alex Gurney, son of racing legend Dan Gurney, have combined for 16 wins and 2 championships.
In third place is a number 5 Action Express Racing Chevy Corvette, led by the Brazilian former F1 driver Christian Fittipaldi, nephew of 2-time Formula 1 champ and 2-time Indy 500 winner Emerson Fittipaldi, and Portuguese driver João Barbosa with 12 wins and a Rolex 24 victory under his belt.
And in Grand Touring, the storylines are as follows. Sitting atop the points is the Magnus Racing 44 Porsche GT3 of Americans John Potter and 3-time series champ Andy Lally, winners of last year's Rolex 24 at Daytona.
Right behind them in the number 57 Stevenson Camaro GTR is the 22-year-old American young gun John Edwards and veteran Scotsman Robin Liddell, who had 22 career wins to his name.
Third in GT points is Italian Alessandro Balzan in the 63 Scuderia Corsa Ferrari 458 Italia. Balzan has only 11 Rolex career starts, but has shown speed throughout the year. Joining him, American Lee Keane, a 2-time GT champion.
And we are about to go green here at Kansas Speedway for the first time for the Rolex Sports Car Series, a brand new road course, and there is some bad blood on the front row.
Absolutely. Memo Rojas and Gustavo Jacobin, who started the 0-1 and the 6 car respectively, have had some comings together this year. It started in Detroit. We get the green. The field is jostling for position here as we head down to turn 1, Dorsey.
Everybody back in line, luckily, before they got to the start-finish line. And you see GT cars behind, guys.
Right now out in front, it's the 0-1 Memo Rojas with a great job qualifying on the pole. Really only the second earned pole of the 0-1.
Frizella's off.
Yep.
Brian Frizella's off. Christian Fittipaldi, a good start. He moves up to second.
I think Max Angelelli helped that off a little bit. He pushed him out wide and got in the dirt.
As I was saying, just the second earned pole by the 0-1 since Daytona. They started on the front row at Road Atlanta, but that was because of points, because of rain, and we may have just had a change for the lead as the 2
goes
cars.
around.
That's our championship leader, the 2.
Remember, cold tires, it's going into darkness right now, getting close to it. The racetrack's got cold temperature.
That was a strange spin there. You're right, Dorsey. They have to get these Continental tires up to pressure, up to temperature, but he didn't look like he was bumped there. Maybe just got on the power a little bit too early, turned it around. He's now got to recover and just be really smart here. He is the championship leader. Don't get too aggressive getting through that GT traffic.
And talk about aggressive. Christian Fittipaldi with a power move underneath Memo Rojas into the hairpin in the opening corners of the very first lap.
These banks are between 17 and 20 degrees on these opening laps. Before you get tire pressure up, these cars are bottoming out. They're not up on the pressures yet, so they got to be very careful up on the bank.
Christian Fittipaldi, one of only 3 drivers who has experience here on the Kansas Speedway Oval, not the Roval part we're running here tonight, but he has run the Oval before, so if there is any familiarity, Christian has it.
Let's take a look. Looking back a little further, look for the white number 2. There he is.
He's just out wide on the outside, trying to work that. Gets on the throttle. There's no grip there with cold tires. Simple spin. He's lucky he got away with that one.
Just finished up the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge race. There's probably a lot of marbles down out there. He just got out in the gray, out in the dirty stuff, and turned it around.
But the thing that's important, this is a 2-hour and 45-minute race.
More
and
trouble.
a problem for the 43 in the hairpin as well.
That's Joe Nonamaker. Nonamaker's in 2 of the cars here tonight. It'll be his son Wayne competing with Dane Cameron, who had a brilliant run. The pair of them at Road America in the last round just 1 week ago had the pole and led the race there until they had a drive shaft failure. So there's a lot of action here in the early going. This is the GT battle, Ferrari versus Ferrari.
Look at this, the 61 out in front. That's Alex Tagliani. If you think you recognize that from being an IndyCar fan, you are right. Indeed, Tagliani drafted in to replace Max Pappas this weekend, as Pappas was doing nationwide duty at Mid-Ohio this weekend. This is the battle for second and third, as John Edwards on timing and scoring being shown leading the GT class. You see Alex Popov trying to fight back after his spin in the hairpin.
This is for the lead. They have got back around. There you see the 4th car in the frame right now, the 57 Stevenson Camaro. That is John Edwards, so he sits third. He's had a nice start here tonight. Got around a Ferrari. Then you see Boris Said right behind him.
Well, I noticed when
the Wheeling Corvette.
When the 43 Daytona prototype spun, it was in amongst a bunch of the GT cars. I think it shuffled all these guys up when that happened.
Well, we had seen John Edwards at the top of the timing charts momentarily. It shuffled back through the other way. Not only Calvin Dorsey and I up here, but also 2 great pit reporters for you tonight, Chris Neville and Greg Kramer. Let's go to Chris first.
Brian, our championship leaders have been the picture of consistency all season, well, until last weekend. They had their first engine failure of the year. The team confident, they understand why that occurred, and that it won't happen again. But that lead they had in the championship shrunk from 10 points down to 4. Talking to both drivers tonight, they said this is going to be their best opportunity to win. Well, that was until Alex Popoff just had that spin. Now they've got their work cut out for them. Greg?
Well, engine failures, of course, are a part of racing, but there's another component that has people very concerned here. Dorsey, you talked about all that time spent on the banking here at Kansas Speedway. As a result, they're very worried about suspension components. In fact, during practice, the number 94 BMW of Paul Delalanne and Bill Arberlin had an upright at the right rear corner of the car fail, took the brakes with it. Didn't have an accident, but they missed a session and a half trying to get it repaired. Everybody paying immense attention to those right rear corners, both suspension and tires.
It's a really good point. We're not used to running on bankings like this. We only do it a few times a year, and it puts unique loads on the car. There's a look at first, second, third, fourth, and fifth in GT right there. The 57 Stevenson Motorsports Camaro in third. It got shuffled up in timing and scoring. Still out in front, Alex Tagliani, our pole sitter in GT.
There's been a lot of action here in the early going. We're understanding the Spirit of Daytona car of Ricky Taylor has been in the thick of things. Here we see the initial start. This is the initial green flag as we head down into turn 1. And then there's a bottleneck down here as the teams, the drivers are trying to jostle for position here, Dorsey.
Greg wants to get single file, but there's not real room to do it. Now that's what I was talking about. That was Max Angelelli to the outside, pushing, kind of not leaving room. And we saw what resulted from that.
That was Burt
And
Frizzell.
here's what I was talking about before. Watch what happens with the 57, who was leading.
So he was leading, but he got stuck right behind Joe Nonamaker with a spin, and then the Ferrari split him from on board the number 69 Ferrari.
This is Emil Asentato in the FXDD machine. There you see John Edwards, the GT leader. The 43 car turns around. He gets brought momentarily, and you can see in a heartbeat with the competition level here, he was passed by those 2 Ferraris.
I noticed that when I saw that car backwards, that there were GT cars all over trying to scramble.
Max Angelelli right there in the number 10 Velocity Worldwide Corvette running in 5th, but it's Christian Fittipaldi with a power move who took over the point at the start. Plenty more to come. It's the Rolex Sports Car Series from Kansas. We'll be right back right here on Fox Sports. Rolex Sports Car Series, always exciting. It'll be exciting this evening from Kansas. The SFP Grand Prix underway. Just a few laps in hand right now, but it promises to bring us plenty of excitement. We'll bring you excitement as well from both outside and inside the race cars, as we'll have some good onboard camera shots for you this evening from the number 3 Corvette Daytona prototype, the number 6 Ford Riley, the number 90 Corvette DP, and then in GT, the number 69 Ferrari 458, and a great suspension cam on the Mazda 6, the number 70 in the GX category. Good stuff. Christian Fittipaldi out in front, but we saw some great racing at Road America in the last round. For more on that, and our winner there, here's Chris.
Yeah, Formula One test driver and Rolex Series rookie Brendan Hartley got his breakthrough win last weekend. And this racetrack about half the size as Road America. Is that going to make it a little bit more challenging for you guys to try and work your way back to the front?
I don't think so. It shouldn't be any different. But to be honest, this track's really good for passing. It's a really long straight through the oval. It throws up a really good passing opportunity in one. So if the car's quick, which I'm sure it will be, these guys will give us a quick car every race. So I'm pretty sure the Starbucks number 8 should be able to come through the field again.
So many of these racetracks are new to you. What's it like to be up on the oval?
Really, really cool. I have to say the first couple of laps was a little bit scary. Just not really knowing, you know, the limits of the car, but it's good fun to drive in this oval, and it's a bit tighter than Daytona. So it's, you know, you think twice before going around the outside of someone, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun to watch this young driver this year. Greg?
Well, you know, Chris, save a broken axle late in the going. It may have been the number 42 Salen's car that would have won at Road America. Dane Cameron, you guys, remarkable run, great pole position for you, leading so many laps. This is a very different arena, though, isn't it?
Yeah, last weekend was great. You know, really proud of everyone on Team Salem. It just, it was sort of a good prize for how far we've come as a first-year team to get to that point where we can lead races going away for the first time. So yeah, it's very different here. Very small, very tight. A lot trickier than it seems, and it's going to be really tough in traffic and really tough managing restarts and all that sort of thing.
Of course, you guys are still running the 5-liter BMW, which is a little different, a 5-speed in and out of 6-speed. How's that working here?
Yeah, it's a little tough to get the gearing here because it's so quick down the straightaways and then so slow in some of the hairpins here. So it's a bit tricky running off high speed, but still a good engine as we proved last week.
Absolutely. Good luck. Have a good run.
Thanks. See what happens.
You heard Dane use the word tough a lot. It's already a tough day for the number 90 Spirit of Daytona team. Ricky Taylor behind the wheel. They had their worst finish of the season just last week at Road America, and things not going well early here.
This is a team that just can't seem to catch a break. They came into this year with this driver pairing, young Ricky Taylor, moving over from his father's operation, Wayne Taylor Racing, to join Richard Westbrook from England, one of the fastest drivers in these machines. Everyone expected them to be going for a championship. All they've seen this season is one podium finish. Major disappointment. Spoke to Troy Fliss this morning. He said we have to turn this thing around as the battle up front heats up, Dorsey.
They went right to the engine compartment, and that mechanic was back there working with the throttle linkage, the fuel injection linkage. Remember, that car got pushed out wide. You saw that dirt fly out. Sometimes that dirt gets up in that linkage, starts hanging the throttle open. I'm not sure that's what's going on, but it could be.
Right now, Corvette, the number 5 of Christian Fittipaldi, out in front of the BMW-powered Riley of Memo Rojas. Rojas seems like he's really beginning to get the temperature pressures in his tires and beginning to close down on the Corvette in front.
He certainly is, but Christian Fittipaldi and his teammate Joao Barbosa have been on a roll. They had a second-place run. They had 2 wins. They had misfortune at Indy where the suspension broke, but they rebounded nicely last week with another podium run. They're in the thick of this points chase as Rojas looks to the inside.
They're in the thick of a battle for the lead, but while these two fight it out, let's check in really quickly with Greg and find out what's going on with the 90.
Yeah, I tried to talk to Troy Fliss. He's busy on the radio, but one of the crew guys down in the compartment, driver compartment, popped his head up, gave the indication, broken throttle cable. Of all things, that's what's brought them in early, apparently. We'll keep you updated.
Yeah, and it helps to have a go pedal, doesn't it? That's exactly what you said.
Rojas, look at that, too deep. In too deep. Fittipaldi took a wide entry to that corner. Rojas was hard on the brakes, had nowhere to go as Christian turned in. You can see the nose is dislodged.
Nose is up. He's going to have to make a pit stop to get that. He got hit again, too, on by the BMW that was going by.
This is Yackerman we're on board with. He takes the lead as the damaged 0-1 car. He'll have to hit pit lane here as the 99 Red Dragon. He'll move up into the second spot.
Right now, trouble early. The hairpin has been the spot all day long, and it bites again as Rojas tries to make a move on Fittipaldi, and it just was not there.
That was a bit optimistic. I mean, you have to be clearly inside of someone before you can dive bomb in there like that. That infield's very slippery, and you're braking very hard anyway.
But there was traffic there too,
Yeah,
so I think
yeah.
that was a factor. I think Christian was trying to clear that Turner Motorsports number 94. He slowed it way down and then took a wide entry there, and Memo was just too committed down the inside. Timmy King will be furious. He's told his drivers, we're throwing away these championships recently. Keep it clean tonight.
Timmy left him out there. Take a look. Yeah, here we go. Inside the 94. Just, a little too much.
Just not reading the situation clearly, Dorsey. You could see that Christian was going to get slowed a little bit, and there's just total commitment at this point. It's about 42 miles an hour down at this hairpin apex speed, and they're reaching about $130 going in there, so there's a lot of braking that takes place, and Christian just gets turned.
And Christian had to take that angle because of this. He's passing that BMW, so he's got to turn in from the outside.
And you can almost see there, you can see the body language inside the car. Christian wasn't looking down at the side view mirror. He was just looking at the apex of the corner.
This is one more replay from onboard Gustavo Yackerman, who gets a good drive off of the corner because of the problems for Memo Rojas and Fittipaldi. And now Yackerman looks to the outside. You can see the damage on the 0-1.
He's staying out there though, Brian.
Yeah,
It's
he is.
remarkable. I think what's happening is the downforce that gets forced, the air pushing down on the nose is keeping it in place, Dorsey. There's Timmy King, team manager. There's Scott Pruitt, who's won so many of these Daytona Prototype Championships, has a concerned look on his face. Right now, the car continues to run. If they can get to their first scheduled pit stop, it really won't hurt them too bad.
No, and if that front end isn't going to fly off, it's not hurting it aerodynamically. It's probably adding front downforce, as a matter of fact.
The other thing would help, it would be a full course caution. It would give them a longer time in pit lane to get some work done on the car. But right now, at least momentarily, everything okay on the 0-1. We won't say it's perfect. And you can see right there, the Ferrari that they're going around, you can see hand signals by the driver pointing them by. On board Emil Asentado.
The good news is that body, that front section, is not flapping all around in the breeze. It's very stable.
And now
Rojas
Rojas
really
wide.
struggling. He got in there really deep, struggling for grip there, coming off of turn 6.
I think the 99 right behind of Gurney, or of Fogarty, I should say, a little problem, but we're understanding there will be a stop and hold plus 60 seconds, or Memo Rojas for avoidable contact.
Timmy Keene will be furious. He's been hollering at these guys and telling them, you're blowing it, guys. You cannot make these mistakes.
Since they switched to this new 4.5-liter BMW power plant, they've had a lot of speed. But Indianapolis, Scott Pruitt made a real mistake turning the car around. Then last week at Road America, we saw Memo Rojas have a huge spin in the kink, one of the high-speed corners on that racetrack, survived but throw away several track positions, and ultimately they came back to finish fourth.
0-1 is in on pit lane as the battle continues to rage for second place in Daytona prototype. Into the hairpin, it's the 99 of Fogarty leading the number 10 as the 0-1 of Rojas sits on pit road.
Well, and you can see the damage to that left front, the entire top where the vents are on top of the wheel are up. There's actually some damage, I think, scrapes at least, to the wheel itself. Right now, they're not doing anything on the car because they are being enforced that penalty right now. So that's the concern. Then they're going to have to take care of the damage and the pin. Chris?
Well, let's not forget that Christian Fittipaldi slid from first to now fifth because of that contact, and his teammate Joao Barbosa, you obviously weren't happy with that contact, but mainly, is the car okay?
There's some issues with the car, and that's the main concern. I don't know what was going on Memo's mind so early in the race. There's a lot of in stake. There's 3 races to go in the championship, but I mean, what a way to start the race. But these Action Express guys, we've overcome problems, and I'm pretty sure we can do that again.
What are the issues?
The steering wheel is off, so probably the rear alignment is off, and I think we're missing some rear spoiler, so we need a downforce here, and that's not ideal here.
Yeah, that does not sound like fun up in NASCAR 3 and 4.
He hits him square on that right rear wheel.
And as Paul Dallalana tried to avoid it, Christian rolled back into him and took off that whole rear wing, Calvin. That's the rear downforce.
Yeah, that's going to hurt them, really be a problem for Christian around the oval. And with that stop and hold for 60, he goes down a lap. You lose 30 seconds, or about 29 seconds just driving down pit lane at the speed limit that's required, plus the 60-second hold. So that's a minute 30. A lap here is only a minute 10. So he is down a lap plus 20 seconds right now.
Plus, they're not able to work on the car during serving that penalty. That's why nothing was being done. They have to come in another time if they want to fix anything.
And the car does not look healthy, as you see Alex Popoff in the number 2 beginning to put the pressure on the Ganassi squad, getting the spare parts ready for Memo Rojas. Will it be too little too late as Gustavo Yackaman leads from Kansas? Fox Sports and the Rolex Sports Car Series, that's where the excitement is. It's right here in Kansas right now. Rolex Sports Car Series action, and in GT, the number 57 Camaro of John Edwards running second, but heavy pressure from Lee Keene behind in the number 63 Ferrari.
Yeah, this has been a fascinating little battle here, the battle for second right now. Up front is our pole sitter, Alex Tagliani, in the number 61 Ferrari, but John Edwards and Lee Keene in that 63 machine. We're now looking at that red and white Ferrari coming in the middle of our shot right now. They have been having a great dust up here, Dorsey.
They were really going at it, and right behind that, of course, the 31 Corvette. That's Boris Said. Boris knows how to run these ovals. He's probably got the most experience on oval here.
A lot of guys with oval experience here. Boris certainly has some. Scott Pruitt has oval experience, and I'm sure he doesn't like what he's seen so far today, Greg.
I would think not. Scott, right before the race, we had a chat. You said all we want is a race without any incidents to go, and not even a couple of laps in. This happens. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed for Telcel, BMW, all the Ganassi guys. This is not what we needed, not what we wanted. I mean, it's pretty evident what happened out there. It's unfortunate. We just wanted to have a good, clean race. We haven't had many of those this year, and continue on. So we'll there's a lot of racing left, and we're gonna get to it. Hi to my family at home. We're gonna get to it and see what we can make out of a day that started out not the way we wanted.
You just went over and checked with the box. We see a new nose up, but we also see guys with bare bond ready to go. What's the play here?
They're going to really assess it when it comes in. We're either going to make a play to change the nose and bare bond it on, or if they can bare bond the current nose. It's really what they're going to see, because we have to have headlights. They have to be hooked up, all that. So that's another element we got to be careful of.
So basically it comes down to what's going to be best to get them back in the chase again from behind.
That's a good point that Scott just made. We're racing into the dark tonight, and that is a rule. The headlights have to work on these cars, the taillights, so that is something they have to address. Not only the damage, but they have to make sure that everything is proper, or the headlights are working, and you can see that right now.
This is one of the most bizarre championship campaigns we've seen the 0-1 have. I mean, Scott Pruitt has won 5 of these Daytona Prototype Championships over the last decade, but this year we've seen little mistakes by the drivers that we just don't normally see. Normally they are so buttoned up, but I think it comes down to the level of competition. Everyone's pushing that little bit harder now.
You're talking about pushing harder. You're right on board the number 6, Gustavo Jacobin. That is your leader. We talked about bad blood between he and Memo Rojas. Jacobin didn't have a great start to the season, but I think he's really coming a long way in sports car racing, and it's perhaps because the people he has around him, Chris.
Yeah, and the people he has around him is IndyCar star Justin Wilson. And even though this is the Rolex Series first time to Kansas Speedway, not your first time, you've been here in IndyCar before. Has that helped you and the team get up to speed quicker?
Not really. I mean, I can't remember how many times I've been here, you know, whether it was 2 or 4 times, but never had a good result. So hopefully we can turn it around here and, you know, and get a good one tonight. The track is so different. We use turn 3 and 4, but other than that, you know, it's a very different layout. And, you know, I'm just really pleased. We've got a great car. Everyone at Michael Shank Racing's worked hard. We've got a good balance. Gus is doing a great job, so fingers crossed we can be there at the end.
Yeah, and talking to Mike Shank, he said it's really been a great pairing between Gus Jacobin and Justin Wilson. Justin Wilson really teaching that young driver how to mature.
Well, one thing that has happened to that Ford power plant since the last round at Road America, it's got 200 more RPM, so it's got a little bit more rev range, possibly a little bit more power. It brings those gear ratios, the splits, when you jump down to that higher gear, it makes it a little bit closer in terms of the rev range, Dorsey. Spoke to Justin this last night after qualifying, he said, boy, I can't believe what a difference that made. And what the series is trying to do is to really equalize the performance of all of the various power plants and chassis within the championship.
It wasn't just this 200, it's the fact that it's creeping up into where this engine gets really happy. We're up to 7,400 RPM now in that engine, and that's when things really start getting magical.
Talk about magical already. I know we've got 2 hours and 20 minutes to go. We spoke championship at the very beginning of the program. The number 99 that you saw just flash through running second. The number 10 with Max Angelelli on board running third. And for John Fogerty and Alex Gurney in that 99, they sit second in the championship. And right now, the people that they're up against, the number 2 car, a little bit further back as Alex Popov had problems early. He and his teammate Ryan Dial currently running ninth, so we could see a switch in the championship if the number 2 car cannot move forward.
We've seen it so many times this year. The number 10 car, the Velocity Worldwide machine, it got on top of the points charts with a couple of victories, and suddenly they just had problem after problem. We saw it with the 0-1 early in the championship year, so it seems when you get on top, holding on to that lead is proven to be very difficult, guys.
So far, so good for Angelelli. He got a little wild and crazy there at the start, but since then, been running well. And then you move back one more position to Bert Frizzell. And the number 9 and the team car, the number 5, had a great double podium finish last time out at Road America, Chris.
Brian and I talked to Bert Frizzell right before the race, and I said, this whole team is doing so well, and you and your brother really coming up to speed. What is it? And he said, you know what we really needed to do was have faith and confidence in where the engineers were taking this Coyote chassis. We've been running around in Riley chassis for the past few years, and that car just works and feels different than this chassis. And we didn't have faith in where those engineers were going. Once we did that, and once we realized the speed that this car is capable of, now we think we can be contending for wins too.
From behind, Bert Frizzell. The 5, Christian Fittipaldi, and that car not happy. And the bad thing for me, Dorsey, is the contact was on the right rear. On the banking, that's where the load is in that right rear. And we still have it just inside 2 hours and 20 minutes to go.
And that's a very good point. You know, with this banking, it's artificial downforce. So these cars make downforce of their own. You throw in that banking, and it really loads the right rear side of that suspension and so forth. And we've seen that they don't like to be hit on that corner, because parts will fail, particularly axles that are driven into the side of the gearbox.
And what you don't want to have happen is have anything go wrong on the banking right now. Fittipaldi running in 5th. Right behind him in 6th is the 60 of John Pugh. And you talk about things going wrong on the banking. Well, just yesterday in practice, Pugh had an incident that they still can't figure out the cause of, but the result is relatively obvious.
Well, he starts up really high in the banking, which nobody's been doing, and then turns down, or the car wants to go to a lower line. It loses grip. Watch right here. It just loses the back end, comes in the air just a little bit right there, and then slams the nose against the wall, which took out pretty much everything up to the windshield.
Yeah, this is a surprising incident because with the Daytona prototypes, we can see the wings there, the rear wing, the amount of rear downforce that these cars create. It's not easy flat out through the oval part, but it's pretty comfortable. So something happened there. Either John just getting used to the line around, trying to run that high line, maybe tucking it back down just a little bit, just got caught out, or something went adrift in the rear end of the race car. Either way, a lot of work for the guys to get that car back and ready for qualifying last night, where they rebounded nicely, and right now they're having a pretty strong run as John sits in the 6th spot.
They didn't even think they would get the car ready for qualifying, but they did, and more problems for the two.
No wing.
No wing, so he's made pretty stout contact, and this is championship implications, big-time championship implications. Look at the damage to the left rear.
This is huge.
You're going to drive straight to the, behind the pit wall. So you're going to come up, and then you're going to come behind the pit wall.
And the reason they're going to take it behind the pit wall, they can have more crew members work on that car at the same time. There's a limit of 4 guys working on the car in pit lane. That is major damage, and this is a major blow. They dodged a bullet last week with everyone else stepping on their toes a little bit when they DNF'd, but they can't afford a second one here today.
And
Alex, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, there's going to be a lot of debris laying out there, too. This car will make it back to the pits, but I would say a caution might still come out with all the debris, and watch that left rear tire. It might fly off, too.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it in the beginning. It seems to be the championship that no one wants to win.
Rear is flat as well.
Yeah, so they're telling him on the radio, just be careful, the left rear's flat. You don't want it to come apart and do any more damage. They had but a 4-point lead over John Fogarty and Alex Gurney on the way in. So somehow Alex Popov has had another problem on the racetrack. This one very, very costly.
Well, you see the front, too. He's taken the splitter, which is a hard fix. It takes a while to do that. That's all gone. He's made really big contact at the back.
One thing they need to look at, boys, is the clock. Right now, we're just under 29 minutes. You have to do 30 minutes to get points here tonight. So I'd say one thing's for sure. They're going to somehow, some way, get that car back on the racetrack so that the drivers score at least some points tonight. The 0-1 in that big hit at Detroit this year, they didn't get that 30-minute mark. They got 0 points that night instead of last position.
And that is going to be huge. The 2 is in, Chris.
And we see this very damaged championship leading car coming to pit lane here. Ryan Dial going to get behind the wheel if the team can get the car fixed. I just tried to check in with one of the team members up on the pit box, and they said they did not know what happened out on the racetrack, but a lot of damage to the left rear of the car. Trying to take a look and see if there's some suspension damage there. Must not be too bad because they are putting on a new wheel and tire, so this rear wing, that's going to probably take the longest to fix.
To score championships points as a driver and for the car to score points, you have to do 30 minutes. Alex Popov will jump out, but there's a new rule in place that 30-minute will actually change over, or the time elapsed will change over when the car leaves pit lane. So I think they'll be okay in terms of Alex still getting points here tonight, even if Ryan jumps in a little bit early.
Now, believe it or not, the back doesn't look all that bad to fix. I mean, those are bolt-on parts. The bad news is the left front splitter is gone. And that is a one-piece part that goes underneath. That takes quite a bit longer to put that together. Right there, you see it.
It is going to be a lengthy repair, regardless how you look at it. The crew going to work.
Yeah, they're not even going to repair it, Calvin. They're just going to beer bond it and leave the no splitter off that corner.
I think the key is to make sure that that car is safe here. Don't really put the driver at any risk. You're basically in a big hole tonight. Just make sure you get the car back out there, get some points. What are they saying, Chris?
Well, Alex Popov, who has finally gotten his helmet off. And Alex, what happened on the racetrack there?
Hit the wall, turn 3. I made a mistake. It was behind Memo. The car just loosed the back. The car was pretty good, but a little loose from the back at some point, and just missed it there. And trying to fight in with the car in the straight, one side to the other one, and at the end it just go to the wall. It's a shame. This guy has done an awesome job. The car was pretty good. I knew we couldn't fight for a podium finish and fight for the championship, but done. We're going to try to keep it out and try to get a position in the championship.
Obviously, tough night for this team, but they are going to try and get a new rear wing on the back of the car. Thinking about that spin he also had on the first lap.
At 1 minute and 10 seconds per lap, the 2 will go down several. There's plenty more yet to come. They're the 3 class leaders from the Rolex Sports Car Series at Kansas Speedway. Full course caution is out at Kansas Speedway for the first time this evening. The reason, Boris said in his number 31 Whelen Corvette, On the back with no drive on the radio, he said it feels like it's getting gears, but there's no drive.
That car broke a drive shaft last week, and that could be the same problem all over again. They run an aluminum drive shaft. Now that it's got a torque tube. What it does is that drive shaft actually hooks straight onto the end of the crankshaft of the engine, yet the gearbox is its back, so it's driving live speed or engine speed. It makes it tough on the drive shaft and stuff, but you know, they've run this car a long time. It's strange to be having these trouble now.
Yeah, talking to Teddy Marsh the other day, he was talking about the type of bolts that they actually use, maybe not having the same sort of flex under when they get heat inside that system, in terms of not sort of like expanding and contracting at the same rate as the drive tube. They're looking at changing the bolts, but either way, another problem for that team that has shown a lot of speed this year.
Full course caution. We're 30 minutes in. That means drivers are going to get points. Talk about changing things. Do you expect to see pit stops? Do you expect to see driver changes?
I think so. Once you get that 30 minutes on the board, that's what you're looking at really is the key. And what you've got in the series, you have Pro-Am drivers. These are guys who do not make their living from racing cars. They have businesses, but they're very quick, very established right now, but they're going to turn it over to the pro. And in some teams, they have a pro-pro combination, and typically their better guy goes out second. And Ryan Dial, great to see the 2 car. They've got it fixed up. But they've lost several laps here.
They've got it cosmetically fixed up. Yeah. I'm not sure about alignment.
Well, remember, they've got to get another minute, I believe, boys, to get that points. They came in about a minute shy, so I think they need to get the car back out, do another lap or two to ensure they get points tonight.
Well, as Ryan Dial gets back out to see if he can get his time in, we'll take another quick break, and then we'll be back to more pit stops and additional Rolex Sports Car Series action from Kansas.
All cars except the
Pit
6.
stops underway here in Kansas. The number 6 Mike Schenk Racing Ford at the top of your screen. He was her leader when they came to the pits. Chris, how was the stop? All right, so pit stops underway, and we'll check back in and see exactly what went on with the pit stops. But everybody came in together and went out together. Very quick stops.
But the one key thing is the 0-1 car stayed out. They're going to get that lap back. There you see him. He's going to get a wave around, so Memo Rojas will get back on the lead lap. So he got that penalty, the stop and hold for 60. He will now get back on the same lap as the leader. So this is a big break for those guys, and they can also then effect a repair on that front end of the race car.
Yeah, finish this lap up. He'll pull down the pit lane, and they'll make their decision whether to tape that on or to replace it totally with a new one, and that's Timmy Keene's call.
And Memo would like to stay in the car because he doesn't want to get out and face Timmy Keene.
Yeah. Leave the helmet on either way.
I would like to stay in for another stint, please. But you feel certain that they'll take him out, they'll put Pruitt in, they'll effect the repairs that they need to. And the important thing, Calvin, is, as you said, they're back in it because they're going to be back on the lead lap, and that puts them even more back in the championship.
Yeah, they're very much back in. A couple of races ago, we said, you know what, the Ganassi boys are out of it, but everyone else keeps tripping up. They're getting points now. Let's take a look here. We can see the pit stops under action.
Watch these two.
Oh, that was close. That is a little bit of a dangerous move. Wow.
Very close. And you see Gustavo Jacquemin in the blue and white number 6 just makes it out in front of Angelelli.
10 car did get around the 99. So once again, the Velocity Worldwide team did a very, very good pit stop. Here's the Ferrari of Tagliani's had a great opening stint here as he gets used to GT cars once again. And John Edwards having a great run as well in second.
Greg?
Well, we have a huge throng of GT cars. Everybody coming in, as you would expect, led in by the number 61. The 69 pits is in front of it. This is going to be interesting to see how quick they get out. Also, the BMW from Turner is in, and pretty much everybody, really, at this point. GX machines as well, waiting to see who gets done, gets their service, and gets them rocking first. We'll update you on that. Let's get down to Chris.
Yeah, and Robin Liddell getting in for John Edwards in the Stevenson group. This group had a mechanical issue at Road America. It looks like we got a wicker change at the back end of the car, going to a taller wicker. So this car obviously a little bit loose through the high-speed sections of the racetrack. Problems trying to slide that wicker onto the wing.
Well, I think what happened is when they dropped the car down, the guy had hold of and actually got bent. There we see a great start by the 44 team, was it, or the 73? I'm not quite sure. I think it was the 73 team.
Yeah.
The gray and white Porsches look very similar from a high shot.
Whoa, they almost got into that tire, which would have been a penalty. That was close.
Important changes being made to the cars. Did they get that rear wing adjustment that they needed on the 57 Stevenson Motorsports Camaro? We'll find out, and we'll go back to green when we come back to Kansas and the Rolex Sports Car Series. Well, a lot of times the stories of a race take place on pit lane as much as they do on the racetrack. The Rolex Sports Car Series at Kansas just had pit stops after our first full course caution, and the GT battle was intense on pit lane.
Well, you see these two up on the banking here having a little confrontation, a little talk with one another. That all started in pit lane.
This is crazy, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that there's an argument about, you know, who should have the position, but don't be banging wheels under yellow. This is silly.
This is where it started. I think we'll get in a minute.
You see right now the six behind the safety car as the pit lane is open again for more changes if need be, but it started on pit lane, but it's Alex Tagliani in the 61 and Patrick Long in the 73.
Patrick Long had taken over from Patrick Lindsay. I think we've got a shot of it here, guys. This is exiting pit lane. Greg Creamer was right there. Look at that. You can see the 71 car, the gray and white Porsche. They should both be on their pit lane speed limiter, which is 45 miles an hour coming down here, and they trade some paint there. And as you hit the stripe, to me, it looked like Pat Long. But when we got back on the racetrack, Tagliani, who had the pole and has been leading this race, doesn't want to give it up.
They've been banging off each other just like boom, 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 that hard. But, you know, there's an avoidable contact penalty. I'd give it to both of them.
Tom Long in the number 70, leading in the GX category. The third class of cars that are here, but you see the 0-1 right in front, so they're going to work on the 0-1. Also, the 57 was in. We were talking about a wicker change in the back of that. Did they get that affected, Chris?
Well, we saw the team struggling with that wicker change at the back of the car. In fact, I'm holding that wicker that they were trying to get. This is a 1/2-inch wicker. They pulled out a 3-inch, so they were going with a taller wicker. But when the car was let off the jacks, the crewman that was hanging onto this put a little bend in that wicker, so they couldn't slide it into the channel at the rear of that wing. So they ended up going back to that 3/8. So maybe as the track cools off, there'll be a little bit more grip, and they won't have a handful with the 57.
Yeah, so they lost a lot of track position and didn't get a change affected, so the race car's balance will stay the same, and they lost all of that track position. Remember, they came into the pit stop cycle here in 2nd spot, and right now they sit in 7th.
Well, and what that wicker does is add additional downforce to the back end of the car. They wanted more downforce. They wanted the taller wicker. They don't have it. The 0-1 has finished their repairs. And Scott Pruitt is now taking it back on track.
Yeah, essentially that wicker just keeps the air on that rear wing a little bit longer and holds it on there and creates rear downforce, which like pushes the car down into the racetrack, and that gives it more grip and gives it more cornering speed.
It'll also be heard people call it a Gurney flap because the man who invented it and made it work was Dan Gurney.
Dan Gurney, that's exactly right. The 57 lost 5 spots with that pit problem, so not the day they wanted to have, but for Mike Shank Racing, they've been having a great afternoon as Gustavo Yackerman leads the field to the line in his Ford-powered Riley and down to turn 1.
He timed that perfectly as the pace car peeled off. He was on it and going, and look at this battle.
Oh, boy.
This is Pat Long. He said, okay, you didn't want to give it to me. I'm going to try and take it away from you right now. 2 really aggressive drivers here. Tagliani has to give it up.
He has to give it up, and now he comes under pressure from the 63 of Lee Keen right behind, and Patrick Long beginning to check out after he got that move made.
The reason Tagliani is in this car is because Max Pappas was racing today at Mid-Ohio in the nationwide race, and that's the pairing, Jeff Siegel and Max Pappas in that 61 car. They won the Brickyard race, the big one, at Indianapolis just last month. And Max Pappas finished 4th today at Mid-Ohio, so congratulations to him on a stellar run.
Good stuff. Alex Tagliani needs to forget what happened with Patrick Long.
Look at this, that's tight.
Because he needs to worry about what's going on behind him. Lee Keen driving with Alessandro Balzan in the 63. Keen beginning to put pressure on Tagliani.
Ferraris 2, 3, and 4 is now Anthony Lazzaro behind the wheel of the car on board with here, the FXDD Ferrari. He's got a lot of speed as well.
Of course, Lee Keen has no idea about what's going on with these 2 guys in front. He doesn't know what they're trying to kill each other or not.
In the 10 car, Jordan Taylor is taking over from Max Angelelli. Taylor will be finishing this race. In past races, it was Taylor who started and Angelelli who finished. And the team, Wayne Taylor, made a decision after Road America. He said, No, Max made a costly error at the end of that race. Jordan will finish from here on out. Jordan Taylor really beginning to put pressure on Jakoman.
Such an impressive young man, and what amazes me is how quickly these guys get up to speed. Remember, Jakoman's been on board since the beginning. He's got 50 minutes of racecraft underneath his belt. He's in a rhythm already. Jordan Taylor is fresh out there. He is immediately on the pace and putting pressure on for the lead. Great stuff.
That makes a big difference, too, to have that 30 minutes underneath your belt. You know what the racetrack feels like. You know what the car feels like. And to go in there and do battle right away. Oh, we see it dejected. Memo Rojas here not happy with the way things went.
He is really frustrated, and I tell you what, Timmy Keane will probably have had a little word with him. He was really disgusted about what has happened in the last couple of races, and this is really cut and paste. This is like a repeat.
Jordan Taylor a little higher line through the banking than Jakoman. Down into turn 1, it's Ford in the blue and white number 6. Chevy Power in the Corvette right behind.
Jordan Taylor looks quick. He looks like he's got a lot of pace, but he's got to be patient. We've seen these championship contenders keep tripping up, making the mistakes. Jordan Taylor needs a flawless run here today. The 10 team with 3 rounds to go in this championship cannot afford to slip up. They need to get big points.
And you talk about pressure, Gustavo Jakoman. The knock on him has been that he gives in to pressure. He's only led 3 laps so far this season, but over the last couple of rounds, he has truly come into his own. He's having a great run today. Chris?
Well, Max Angelelli has been the closer for this team since 2004. And Wayne, how difficult was it to make that change and put Jordan behind the wheel at the end of the race?
Well, it's always difficult when you make these kinds of changes, but you know, if you remember back last year, we did similar thing with Ricky, and you know, because of where we were in the championship, we thought this would be a good time to try it, just so that we know where we are, because he hasn't finished the race yet, so we need to look at that in terms of where we're going to go next year.
Well, it looks like it's working their way tonight, guys.
Certainly is, and I tell you what, they'll be looking at the big picture. I bet they cannot believe that the 2 cars are having problems here tonight. It's time to take advantage. It's time to go. We're talking about the final quarter in a basketball game. It's the final quarter of this championship season. You've got to make it count.
You got 2 races after this. It's a championship. I mean, somebody's got to step up to the plate here.
Somebody has to step up and be consistent to the end of the year, and that is the biggest thing. Jakoman having a great job, but look at this up front. Tagliani coming back on Patrick Long. Tagliani in the Ferrari gets it done. This team, Remo Ferri, based out of Canada. Alex Tagliani, a Canadian of Italian descent, and for him to drive a Ferrari is absolutely magic. Being chased by Patrick Long, the only American Porsche factory driver.
Remo Ferri wanted to give Alex Tagliani a break. When Tagliani lost his IndyCar ride last month, he said, you know what, I've got an opening for Kansas, let's put him in. He's Canadian, he's got Italian heritage, he's going to drive my Ferrari, and Alex has taken this opportunity with both hands, put the car on the pole, and now fighting to get that lead back again.
I'll give them both a piece of advice right now. After what they did on pit lane and so forth, they better not get together on that racetrack, or somebody's going to be sitting down there in pit lane.
Well, you look back just a little bit further, it's Anthony Lazzaro in the 69 FXDD Ferrari who's gotten past Lee Keane to take over 3rd. So a great run by the 69. Remo Ferri with AIM and AIM. They're one in the same team, so to speak. They're together in pit lane, the 61 and the 69, and both of those Ferraris running extremely well this evening. Patrick Long surrounded by the red prancing horses of Ferrari, and Gustavo Jakoman leading overall from here. Rolex Series action from Kansas. We've already seen all of that action. We're only an hour into a 2-hour and 45-minute race from Kansas. It's the Rolex Sports Car Series. Welcome, everyone. Brian Till, Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Chris Neville, Greg Kramer down in pit lane, and it is a glorious evening in Kansas. Look at that, 75. I think that's when we started. It's actually cooler than that now.
Chance of rain, 5%, and I don't know where they're finding that. I saw one cloud in the distance. It's got to be 30 miles away.
Well, it's certainly a lot cooler than everyone anticipated when they laid out the schedule. We have a night race. We expected it to be like 105 blistering degrees, and we've just had highs in the low 80s, so it's just been a beautiful summer here in the Midwest, and we're taking advantage of it here tonight.
We talk about blistering. There's been some blistering action in the GT category. We saw it between Alex Tagliani and Patrick Long in the 73 Park Place Porsche. Greg, what's being said down in the Park Place camp?
Well, I'm standing by with Patrick Lindsay, who's got his eyes glued on the monitor over there. And I'll tell you what, that was some exciting action leaving the pitch. You guys had an immensely quick stop and driver change, and actually were able to get a nose ahead, it appeared, of Tag.
Yeah, we definitely won the race off pit road for Park Place. Can't say enough about the guys. Obviously, the car is good, too. We're holding pace with cars that have been the fastest, since we showed up here. The Porsche's got a little left in it, but maybe not as much as the Ferrari right now.
That was a bit of contact all the way out of the pit lane, obviously kept it exciting. Now that was the big play, but let's talk to the game plan here. You guys, in response to the pace seen by the Ferraris, particularly in qualifying, have made some setup changes.
Yeah, we're really good through the infield right now. We'll be able to keep with the Ferrari in the draft, but at this point, I'd suggest Pat Long throws Rosetta Stone out the window and use the international language of "get out of my way."
Well, there you go. And that was interesting. He said we knew we couldn't run with him on the banking. We needed to draft him on the banking. That means we have to catch him on the infield. That's what they've done for setup. Awesome.
Well, if they can win here tonight, maybe the secret sauce is their breakfast. I saw them both in the hotel lobby here this morning. They said, "We're heading to Waffle House. Do you want to come?" I said, "No, I think I'll give that one a miss, guys. You go ahead."
Well, when you're young and fit like that, instead of...
Yes.
Well, anyway.
Well, that could explain the anger, though.
Yeah, well, it could. Tagliani out in front, then Patrick Long. Lazaro still has a mirror full of Lee Keen.
He's using up those tires a little bit coming off there. You saw it squirming around there. Just got to manage these tires over the course of a stint, even if you're feeling the heat from behind.
And speaking of behind, you look just behind Lee Keen. You can see the 44 Porsche. That is Andy Lally. They lead the GT championship. But interestingly enough, they have yet to win a race this year.
They're yet to win a race, and also they had a major issue here yesterday. Blew up their race motor, and the backup engine on the truck, on their transport that they bring with them, is not to the latest spec. Andy said, "We have got a problem here with the high speeds needed around this racetrack. We're just in damage control mode here tonight. We just got to get some points, try and hang on to this championship lead." But they do not anticipate this car running at its full pace.
Well, the worst finish the 44 has had all year long is 6th. They've only done that once. They've been in the top 5 every other time. So it's consistency that has kept them in this championship. You go back to 6th in GT, and you see Billy Johnson in the 93, the BMW from Turner Motorsport.
Yeah, he's running this car with Michael Marcel, who hasn't done a complete season with the Turner Motorsports group, but he's been a long-time Turner Motorsports driver, M&M as we like to call him. And Billy Johnson is one of the brightest young prospects in American racing. He's very aggressive, sometimes almost too much on the other side of that, Dorsey, but he's learning the craft well, and he's always going to drive the wheels off his race car.
He's almost super sub now. Anytime someone needs somebody to get in there and do a solid job, Billy Johnson's the guy they look to, and he gets in and drives a lot of different cars, including on ovals with Jack Roush and so forth. Does a good job.
And you talk about solid, the 2 drivers just behind Billy Johnson, very solid. The 57, we talked about that earlier. Robin Liddell now behind the wheel of the 57. They lost 5 positions on that pit stop, but right behind him, Brian Sellers. Good to see Sellers in a GT. Good to see Fall Line running a GT car, and it is that beautiful Audi R8.
Well, they were going to run the car last weekend at Road America, and on race day made a determination that they felt the car needed just a little bit more development. The high-speed stuff, this car was designed with a very different rear wing, and it wasn't developing the amount of rear downforce to create the balance in the race car to make their Pro-Am drivers, the gentleman drivers, comfortable. So they went away, they did some testing at the beginning of the week, they found a new rear diffuser. That's the part underneath the cars. We're looking at the tail end right now. That creates downforce as well. They're not allowed to run it here. It's got to be homologated and approved by the series, but they felt this racetrack would be a bit more suited, and they got Brian Sellers teaming up with Mark Bowden, the team owner here this weekend. They're putting on a pretty good show.
Start to see the leaders now coming up through GT. You're right on board Gustavo Jacquemin, right behind Sellers. Sellers, Liddell, 2 very professional drivers, used to multi-class racing, so they'll make sure that Jacquemin's getting through easily. On board the number 70, this is your leader in GX, Tom Long. Only 2 diesel-powered cars in the category, both Mazdas.
Yeah, and they made history by winning their class at Indianapolis. That was something else for John Doonan and the whole gang from Mazda Motorsports. But this team are on a roll. They've had 6 consecutive victories, but they're yet to score a 1-2 finish. And what that has allowed Jim Norman is to hang on to that championship lead with the BGB Motorsports Porsche.
It's been the problem. I mean, one of them wins one weekend, one of them wins the next, but that Porsche is always right there.
Yeah, it is, and you can tell now all the lights are on here at the Speedway. Sun's gone down. The speeds will come up. The cars like it right now. This is happy hour.
And the drivers like it because it's nice and cool, but it's been that way the whole time. You see the headlights on, and from now on, all the cars are going to have the working headlight, make sure that everything is legal, that they can see. Tail lights will need to work as well.
They need a minimum of 1 tail light or 1 headlight. And we're understanding that our leader in GT right now, Alex Tagliani, may be having an issue with those headlights. So when we see him on screen, we'll have to see what the current situation is. They will not allow him to run very long in that case, and they'll make him come to pit lane and get the team to do a fix on it.
They will, and of course the car right behind him, Pat Long in the Porsche, he only has 1 headlight working, so you better hope it keeps working.
Joao Barbosa, Christian Fittipaldi in the championship fight as well, and Christian is with Chris.
And Christian Fittipaldi led this race early. And Christian, we spoke with your teammate, Joao Barbosa, and he said that the alignment was a little bit off on the 5 car after the contact with the 01. But your teammate's running some of the fastest laps on the racetrack, so obviously it's not slowing you guys down.
Well, we lost half of our deck spoiler. I don't know about the toe. I don't think it's out of whack by any means. It feels pretty straight down the straightaways, but I don't know what to say. It's a shame that happened like 15 minutes into the race. We were just getting into a rhythm, trying to figure out traffic and all that stuff. Our car was really solid, but we're P3. There's a lot of racing ahead of us, and we have to deal with what we have.
So even with the damage to the car, you still feel confident you can go for a win?
Oh, absolutely. Like right now, it's boiling down to crunch time, and it's definitely gonna. If that happens, it's definitely going to be very healthy for us in the championship.
Yeah, Christian Fittipaldi in the thick of this championship.
He is. He's only 7 points back coming in. Remember, the 2-car, Popov and DL, have had problems.
And there was the contact between Rojas and Fittipaldi a little bit earlier. Also saw headlights on the 61. You got to remember, Alex Tagliani does not drive this car and really had never even tested it. So to get accustomed to where all the switches and buttons are, perhaps he just hadn't found it. And the headlights then, the last time I saw it, were firmly on as he came into turn 6.
There are a lot of switches that are on the dashboards of these cars for all the electronics that the cars run. If you're not familiar with how to do that stuff, that's not a joke. I mean, you're telling the truth right there. It can be really perplexing trying to find a certain switch.
Well, and typically, here we see the points as they run right now in the Daytona prototype ranks. You can see that Fogarty and Gurney would take over the lead tonight if they finished right now. Fittipaldi would only be 1 point out of it. He and his teammate Barbosa split because they didn't do all of the races together this year. They had some changes in the Action Express lineup with the Frizzell brothers.
Well, Alex Tagliani on a pretty steep learning curve because he leads in GT after qualifying on the pole, and Gustavo Jacobin coming into his own as he leads in Daytona prototype. We'll be back with more stories from Kansas. Right on board with the number 70 of Tom Long from Kansas Speedway. In fact, you're not riding with him because he's still on the racetrack. Sitting still, that is, a problem, a mechanical issue in the number 70. We had talked about the fact that the Mazdas had not finished 1-2 this year, and now one of the Mazdas out, and that brings out a full course caution.
Yeah, he came off of turn 4, and during the break we heard a big sort of like explosion, and we believe it's the drive shaft, Dorsey.
Yeah, he was talking to the mechanic, and they said, did the drive shaft tunnel pop up? He said, no, I can just hear it rattling around.
Yeah, just so disappointing. Let's ride on board for a second, and you'll hear what we heard. That's not a good sound.
No, that broke. That definitely sounds like it broke.
I'm not a mechanic, but that's broken.
That's unfortunate. These diesels put out huge amount of torque. And that torque, of course, is a twisting force, and it plays havoc on things like that drive shaft. Plus, he was on the curbing, if you noticed, when that happened. It's probably spun the rear tire up and then shock loaded the whole drive line, which broke it.
Well, and Sylvain Tremblay, who runs Speed Source, David Haskell, who's been in charge of developing this diesel engine, they've done such a great job, and they just haven't had all the results that they've wanted. They've been very good, but it looks like that Manufacturers Championship may slip away. That's where we are right now with 52 laps completed and an hour and 34 minutes to go. There's been plenty of action since the drop of the green here. Remember, we said the championships are winding down. It's round 10 of 12, and it's a racetrack that these drivers have never been to before. And from the very beginning,
opening lap, our championship leader Alex Popov takes a quick spin down there in turn 4. No harm, no foul. This was a big moment in this race.
That one hurt.
Yeah, Memo Rojas just misjudges, gets into Christian Fittipaldi.
Stop and hold for 60 seconds, goes down a lap.
More importantly than that, with that incident, Gustavo Jacquemin got around the wounded 0-1, took over the points lead, and then a problem for Alex Popov again.
More drama. This time, major repair had to be effected. They are basically out of it. They will score points here today.
This was fun. Alex Tagliani and Patrick Long deciding whose piece of road that should be.
A little bit of argy-bargy. Eventually, Alex took the point once again. At the beginning of this race from the pole, done a brilliant job on his return to the Rolex Series. Has seen GT racing before and did a couple of DP races last year for the Starworks team at Laguna Seca, Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, and at Montreal.
And speaking of Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, the Mazda of Tom Long being pulled in. Greg Kramer has more.
Yes, I do. I have John Doonan, and John, a tough day here, obviously, but the development continues on this Sky Active diesel program, and you said it was an axle.
It was, Greg. Over the last 2 weeks, we've broken 3 drive shafts, so the Sky Active diesel is putting out a lot of power and torque. We're going to go back to the drawing board again and figure out what we need to do to make these things continue on. But great performance by the guys. That's why we have 2 cars. We continue to lead the class, hoping to get our 7th in a row tonight. Shout out to all my colleagues out at Mazda Raceway running on some of our historic cars this weekend.
Well, and you know what? Obviously, this has been a real development program for you, and now you come to a track that has these kind of loads with that kind of torque through the engine. You just keep learning, you know, where the weak links are, keep fixing them.
That's right. This track actually has the longest time of full throttle out of any circuit that we've run on so far this year. So it really puts the cars, the powertrain, and the engines to the test. But Mazda 6 running great. We're going to try to get another one here tonight with the 00 Visit Florida car.
That's why they race them, guys.
On the 00 in the lead right now, and it is a development program. If you're a sports car fan and you watch the Audi prototypes run overseas, this is not that kind of budget. You know, these guys are working out of a shop in Florida, and as I said, David Haskell developing the power plants on them, and you got to give him credit. It's not a power plant issue. It's a driveline issue.
No, I spoke to Sil about the drive shaft issue after last weekend. He said, you know, we just don't have time to redesign it, so effectively we just put a brand new one in and see if it holds on. And obviously the loads that they're putting through there, you know, we saw a lot of problems at Daytona, so this is really the first time that this team has run with this race car on a Roval.
Yeah.
Because Daytona was just so problematic in terms of just a few laps at a time.
And John brought up a really big point, the percentage of full throttle. You're full throttle all day long around here. That's like a dyno pull. It really does a lot of work. Ironic, guys, we've had 2 cautions, both for broken drive shafts.
Yeah, and you talk about the loads that get put through them. You saw the 38 of Spencer Pompelli, who will move into second as Tom Long has retired. You ride on board Gustavo Jacquemin, and there's a suspension cam on the 6 car. Kind of difficult to see as dark as it is right now, but
light down there.
You get up on the banking and you can watch that spring compress, and it gives you a really good idea of just how intense the loads are.
I think what we're seeing here is Jacquemin is committed to pit lane. You have to do that over on the back stretch. You got to run this apron, but they were told in the driver's meeting, unlike a typical road course, you can't then speed up and basically overtake the pace car even if you're off the racetrack. This is, you've got to wait all the way until you get to pit lane right there. Then you can see speeds up, then right here, those cones has to be down to 45 miles an hour for the full duration of pit lane. So he tried to gap the guy behind him a little bit. You saw him speed up a little bit, try to gap the guys who are right behind him, which right now is Jordan Taylor and Joao Barbosa.
We'll triple box it. You'll watch the top 3 come to pit lane, and we'll go to Chris.
And that's it. Overall leader at the top of the screen. I think just about everybody has done their driver changes except for the 6 car. So we're going to see Justin Wilson get behind the wheel. This team's going to have to be spot on with this driver change so they don't lose any track position here. I talked to Mike Shank right before this pit stop. He said we are going to make an air pressure change. Try and get this car to come to life a little bit quicker at the drop of the green. Greg?
In the bottom box, a very quick stop by the Action Express, number 5. Joao Barbosa away in a huge hurry. Team doing superb work. Fuel, tires, they're out.
That was brilliant. They leapfrogged around the 10 car there, and we obviously had a driver change in the 6, so great work by the Action Express team.
Pit stops done, and we'll be back to green flag action when we come back to Kansas Speedway. Expect some GT stops as well, but the racing will resume right after this. Well, we told you when we went to break that GT cars would be pitting up next, and they did. Welcome back to Kansas Speedway. Let's take a look at GT pit stops. The top 3, there they are, the 61, the 73, and the 69. A long pit road here in Kansas.
Going to be a driver change on the 61, so Alex Tagliani, having grabbed the pole and led the early stages of this race, will turn it over to Jeff Siegel, who drives this car on a regular basis. 73 Park Place, Pat Long will stay in for the duration of this race. There was a problem at the end of this pit stop. You see the fuel going in, but something went wrong on the left side, I think, Dorsey.
Right side guys are done. They run around the other side, and everything looks normal at this point. Ever watched the fueler? He should be the last guy to get out of there. And you see still work being done. There's a tire going on. Left front problem.
It just took a while. It's just like the whole thing maybe took a little bit longer than it needed to, and you can see the 61, 69 clearly down and away long before the 73. It's the last car in your shot out on the dashed line, and
wouldn't have been a full
tremendous number of positions.
Sorry, Brian. There wouldn't have been a full fuel load, so it does put a lot more pressure on the tire changes. They weren't empty on the tanks.
Well, coming into this race, the number 6 car had led 3 laps so far this season. This evening, they led 43. Let's go to Chris.
Yeah, Brian, last weekend we saw Brendan Hartley shine. In the first hour of this race, we saw this young man, Gus Yackerman, shine. But you guys lost a lot of track position on that last pit stop. I think we see Justin Wilson, who slid back to 8th. Is he going to be able to get that track position back?
Yeah, I think the car is running great tonight. I was having a little too much understeer at the beginning, but as the night is cooling down, the car was getting a lot better. So I think Justin's got a good car. Hopefully he can get us back to the lead.
Yeah, I think we've lost about 15 degrees of temperature out of the track since the drop of the green. How does that change the car?
That swifts the whole aero balance. There's a lot more front downforce, and also there's a lot more front grip. The track is a lot cooler, so it's a lot better. It's a lot faster. The engines run faster. They've got more power. Let's see what happens tonight.
Yeah, Justin's got a little bit over an hour to get it done, but he's going to have his work cut out for him. Brian?
Well, you know, they did that driver change. That makes the stop just a little bit longer. It is getting dark, and even though there are lights here, it's still a little bit hard to see. Some drivers enjoy the darkness, driving in the night. Others do not. And some of them just don't have a lot of experience. So it's one of those things. Different guys are out there, and we've had a chance to talk to some of our guys about night racing.
I think night's the coolest time. There's somewhat, I'm sure you hear this from everybody, there's like a calm that a driver finds.
Oh, I love the night. You know, the lights on the dash are really bright. It's really nice. I've podium in almost every night race I've done.
You know, I love getting out there in the night. You know, sometimes you don't quite see all the apexes, but it makes it more of a driver's skill than just pure speed.
It's cool in the car. What do I dislike about driving at night is I'm tired and I want to sleep.
That's a different taste to the racing. You know, you see the glowing brakes, you see the flames coming out of the exhaust, the sparks off the bottom of the car. It's just a different experience at night.
Oh, I like it. For me, it's great. I stay cool. Our car is black, so it fits.
And some of the guys, I mean, the cars do run well. You guys talked about it. The cool air, it's usually a little bit drier in the evening, and the cars get up to speed and run well. They're about to get hammered down yet again from Kansas.
Go, go, go.
Back to green, an hour and 23 to go from Kansas. Out in front right now, the red, white, and blue Corvette, the number 5, with Joao Barbosa behind the wheel.
Tell you what, one thing this Action Express has done this year is rebound magnificently. We saw it at Road America. Christian Fittipaldi flat spotted a tire. They had to pit for that. They didn't get a full fuel load and they had to pit for that, but still came back to a podium finish. But here you can see the nighttime racing. This is what it's all about. We're on board here with a 3-car. This is Stefan Sarrazin, who's taken over from Michael Valiente. So there's now been 3 drivers behind the wheel of this 3 machine tonight, Dorsey.
Guys got to really watch it right now. Remember, coming off a caution, these are cold tires once again, particularly since the sun's gone down. The racetrack has lost probably 10 degrees of temp at least.
But Justin Wilson.
Look at this.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. The 5, the Corvette stays inside, stays in the lead. And the 10 pushed up above the yellow line. You get pushed up there. That's okay. The officials don't want you running out there on your own. So Jordan Taylor in that black and orange number 10 should be good. But he's got a good race car. So does the 60 right behind. That's the Mike Schenk Racing entry that John Pugh had to crash in yesterday. And right now,
Oz Negre, they call him the Wizard of Oz, and it's kind of a ruby red car, the number 60. He's having a good run. Your Continental Tire halfway leader, Joao Barbosa.
Tell you what, that was great clean racing by the 10 car and the 5 car, Joao Barbosa and Jordan Taylor. I think Jordan Taylor did have enough for him. He didn't have to go up on the oval, but I just thought that he probably felt Joao Barbosa will wipe me out a little bit here in terms of washing the car up high and not giving me the room. So I think it was more evasive action by Jordan Taylor than really getting pushed up there, Brian.
Jordan Taylor's car is sparking a little bit, so I don't know if the pressures haven't come all the way up, but it's definitely bottoming on the racetrack. At least up the first part of that lap, it was hitting pretty good.
Telling you, on board the 6 right now, Justin Wilson moving forward, but Oz Negre running third. Remember, he's teammates with Justin Wilson. Those are identical chassis. They're Riley chassis, Ford power plants. Calvin, you said it earlier, an extra 200 RPM in the Ford power plant this weekend. Those cars are strong. Oz Negre has a chance at not only a podium, but perhaps a win here for Mike Shank Racing. Good stuff as you ride on board Daytona Prototype. Let's check back in GT. What a great job Alex Tagliani did in his opening stint.
Yeah, Tagliani in a Ferrari, pole, lead. Pretty good welcome back to Grand Am for you, Alex.
Thanks. So what do you think? Do I look good in red?
You look beautiful, babe.
Yeah, my granddad, my dad was happy. I was talking to him last night. So really thankful for the opportunity from Remo Ferri and the whole Art Ferry A Motorsport team. What a treat. Honestly, I never thought I was going to have the chance to drive a red car in my career, and this is a fantastic weekend.
You said it really seems to suit your driving style, too.
Yeah, the Ferrari right now has a little bit of lack of speed. I mean, you can see it with the Porsches, but the braking, the turn in, rolling off the brake, let the car roll in, it's what you're used to do in IndyCar, and it suits my driving style, and I got comfortable right away with the car, so I was happy that I could help Jeff try to win the race.
Well, and Jeff just took it from 4th to 3rd while we've been talking, and you, right across the way, Anthony Lazzaro, it's like the old Atlantic days.
I know, it's like a reunion from the old days in Atlantic. It was a lot of fun to also be teammate with Anthony, and I was very welcomed by the team, and I'm having a blast. So you might see me more often in Grand Am in the future.
Folks, I think he's enjoying this.
He certainly has, and it's a big transition from an Indy car to a GT car. But last weekend at Trois-Rivières, he drove a stock car up at Trois-Rivières in the Canadian Series, so he said, I'm glad I got to do that, because he said getting back in this Ferrari is like driving a single-seater again. It felt so nimble and responsive.
Trois-Rivières, a small French town near Quebec City, and it has a great racing heritage. They run a street race there that they've run for years, and that's where Tagliani was last week. It's still Joao Barbosa in the number 5, Jordan Taylor in there in second, and then Oz Negre in the white and red number 60. But tell you what, it's Ferraris 1, 2, 3 in GT right now. The Prancing Horse looking very, very strong.
Sure got everybody's attention in qualifying when they put those 3 red cars right in that 1, 2, 3 spot, no doubt.
Tell you who's strong right now is Scott Pruitt. He just laid down the fastest lap of this race, almost in the 9s, a 1:10.0. So Pruitt is on the march right now. He's back up to 5th. So the Ganassi boys have rebounded. They had that stop-and-go penalty. They went down a lap. They've got a fast race car, the fastest in the field right now, and they run 5th.
Now, you put Scott Pruitt in a deficit situation, and he always responds, doesn't he? I mean, he digs deep. He gets what he needs to get done. You know, and by being behind like that, he's got a good race car under him right now. You can see that they fixed it really well, so kudos to that team.
Putting pressure on Brian Frizzell in the red, white, and blue Action Express number 9 Corvette just in front. And you heard Pruitt's interview earlier when Rojas had his problem. Very calm. He didn't seem to be upset. You knew that he was troubled by what had happened, but he said there's still plenty of time. The team has done what they've needed to do. They got the car repaired. And Pruitt now back on the lead lap, putting pressure and running in the top 5.
I thought he said hi to my family at home.
He said that too.
Okay.
It's a strange dynamic in that team, though. I mean, Memo Rojas has been the one who's been under Scott Pruitt's tutelage, and he's done a tremendous job. He's won championships. He's won Daytona 24-hour races, but when he makes a mistake, they don't mess around. They give it to Memo. They tell him hard, like, you are messing up here, boy. You better get it straight. And I mean, Memo has come on so strong. He's driven some brilliant races over the last 3 championship years. But when he makes a mistake, you can see it in Scott Pruitt's eyes. He's not willing to accept that.
No, he doesn't want any part of that. And it's the fun part of night right now. You're going to start seeing those exhaust headers glowing. You're going to see the brake rotors starting to light up. It's fun to drive at this time of night.
He comes through. He looks to the inside, but he's got to be patient. A lot of time left on that clock right now, as you can see. An hour 17 left. Don't push it too hard too soon.
Well, we'll take a quick break with an hour and 17 minutes left to go.
Oh,
the Rolex
trouble.
Sports Car
Trouble.
Series, and we just had some problems. As we take a quick break, we'll come back to chronicle all the action right after this. Just as we were headed to break, we saw action at the bottom of the screen, and it has involved several of our championship contenders. It's the Rolex Sports Car Series from Kansas. The 44, the leader in the GT Championship, on the pit lane with radiator problems, and then the 99 out on track, missing something substantial.
It'll be a cooler ride now, Cal.
I don't think Bear Bond is going to fix that. They could Bear Bond him in, I guess, and see him in California for the next round on the transporter, but major drama there, and this is the reason for that. The 3 car and the sister 8-star motorsport car of Sebastian Bourdais, the number 4 machine, was involved in that incident that we just caught the tail end of as we went to a break. And we'll see some replays here on what happened. Right on board the 3. This is Sarazan on board with. Look at that. Bourdais goes to the inside of Alex Gurney. There is not enough room there. It's too tight. You're not going to see him at night very easily either. Just see headlights in your side view mirror. Watch this. Gurney is turned. Sarazan has nowhere to go. And that impact there is what tore the door off the Red Dragon.
And you can just see from on board the 3, it's contact left front to right rear on the 99.
Gurney actually got lucky right there because he took that hit and it pushed him away from the wall. He never made contact with the concrete wall, just spinning along.
And the 3 cars back out. The 44 still down on pit road, but for Enzo Padalicchio, who owns both the 3 and the 4, not a good evening, Greg.
No, not at all. And as a matter of fact, we were just watching him do the language of racing with the hands, trying to explain what happened. Can you give us a clue?
I think it's a racing incident. We had 2 fast cars. It's a shame. And Bourdais had contact with Gainsco, and the 3 car got collected in it. We got the worst part of it, but we'll see what the officials say about the contact. They definitely know how to do penalties for contact, but they're not really good at the blocking rule. So it's really frustrating as a driver to be behind somebody for laps and laps. And we got the Gainsco car really quick, and I think we were faster than them in the pace. And sometimes the drivers need to learn how to give it up and be smart about it. But we'll see what happens this time, and we'll see if we can get back in the game.
The 3 went behind the wall as we were going to break. It's already back out. I've never seen a car go back and back out that fast.
Well, I think we cut everything that was damaged. It's going to suffer in the aero around this long track, but we just need to collect points for the team and see how the 4 cars finishes.
Well, they refuse to give it up, but they're damaged.
Well, sitting here with John Fogerty, we saw the 99 come to pit lane. And, John, I walked around the car, and the car actually looked pretty good, other than missing the left side door. Has Alex said anything on the radio on how it's handling?
He actually said the car feels fine, with the exception of missing a door. So, yeah, it's funny. You know, as we walked out to pre-grid, me and Alex were talking with Sebastian about how difficult it is to pass here, and there's no opportunity. He obviously must have forgotten that. So, fortunately, Alex did say that Gainsco 99 auto insurance card seems okay. So trying to put that door back on and not lose a lap and get going again.
You and Alex have won 2 championships in this series. Is this year the championship that nobody wants to win?
Sure seems that way. But we won it bad. You know, we have a good car. We had a good car. Hopefully we can still make something with a little bit of time left.
Yeah, we've got 2 more races after this too.
And if they can stay on the lead lap, they'll be right in it. Look at the pit stops. The first car in line from Mike Shank Racing, the white and ruby red number 60, the Wizard of Oz, Oz Negre.
Some wizardry there, because I tell you what, the 5 car only took a splash, yet they beat him out, so they took half a splash, I guess.
That was impressive. Here are the points as they run. Dorsey, I know you hate this.
Yeah, I do, because we're far from over on this thing. Let me tell you that.
Christian Fittipaldi would be leading. He and his teammate Joao Barbosa up at the top. Calvin, you mentioned it. They're separated in points a little bit from driving pairings at the beginning of the year, but there's plenty more to come. Rolex Sports Car Series action from Kansas.
Welcome back to Rolex Series action at Kansas Speedway. Still under caution, and we've seen problems with our Daytona Prototype Championship leaders, also problems for our GT leader, John Potter. Sitting here watching your car, Andy Lally behind the wheel, radiator damage at the front. What happened?
Well, yeah, I'm watching my crew here burn themselves on this because Grand Am can't throw a caution when there's crap all over the track. The DPs can wreck themselves all they want, but when their crap interferes with our car. I have a problem with that. Andy's coming around the turn with no caution, no warning. He hits some debris from one of those cars, and Nate knocks out our radiator and our championship.
Well, obviously, he's very disappointed about what's happening here. They were 7 points ahead in this championship. Going to be interesting to see how the Stevenson group reacts tonight.
Yeah, they've just been hanging on to that championship lead. Haven't finished below the 6th position, but haven't got that first victory of the year. But just doing it week in and week out, grinding away at it, holding on to that championship lead. But these are the blows this late in the year, Dorsey. You can't really rebound from them.
That was one of the things when I drove at night I was always afraid of. Debris on the track, because you really can't see it. You can't blame Andy Lally for that. You know, he hit something pretty substantial.
Now there's Alex Gurney. The question is, how are they going to get the door back on? Will they put it on via hinges, or will they put it in place and then try to bare bond it back in place? We understand that Alex is going to come in and try to have that taken care of as we go back to green and head down into turn 1, leading the field. Jordan Taylor in the black number 10 Velocity Worldwide Corvette. Oz Negre slots into second, and then right behind him, Scott Pruitt in the blue and white 0-1.
Got trouble again.
42 gets turned around.
There was a bunch of argy-bargy. And here come the GT guys, and they're still mixing it up, too.
On board the number 69 of Anthony Lazzaro, your leader in GT. He got a little squirrely as he came through what's known as turn 3.
Well, they were all doing argy-bargy as they got down into turn 1, not even knowing what was about to happen.
Look at Brian Sellers there right in the mix. This is a great run for those guys with that Audi.
Tremendous run by Sellers. He and Bowden, he knows this fall line team well. He drives with Mark Bowden in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge Series, and he's really come to grips with this Audi. They're putting on a door on the 99, and they will put some tape in place to make sure that it stays. Try to get him back out, but they're going to have to hurry, and now he's underway as the leaders come through turn 4 on the banking.
Oh, he better get up to speed in a hurry. He can't do it yet, though. He's got to get out of pit lane before he can nail it.
It's time to go.
Okay, he'll just stay on that lead lap, but he's got to get going. He's got to get going now. The leaders are about 5 seconds behind him.
And the Audi right then on the banking with a big twitch.
Yeah, well, that's what they're talking about, the lack of rear downforce. Spoke to Brian Sellers at the drivers' meeting this morning. He said it's still a little sketchy, so I think we'll be okay. But that's what we're talking about, the downforce on the rear end of the car.
Oh, and we were just talking about the spectacular run for Brian Sellers. And look at Lee Keane in the 63 Ferrari. Push Robin Liddell wide. We were talking about Brian Sellers, and now the 94 off. I'm going to get this in, I promise. The 46 is going to have to serve a drive-through penalty for passing under the yellow.
Oh, wow.
That's not good.
That's a devastating blow to that team. Look at the 94 car coming up, 93 car, should I say, trying to come underneath the 57 there as the 94 car recovers. That's Bill Orblin behind the wheel now.
I kind of suspect there's a lot of fluid on the racetrack from that radiator we saw in the 44, because these cars are not stuck to the track at all.
Not stuck at all. The 69, Anthony Lazzaro, leading a good run for that team, Greg.
Well, it's a fantastic run, and Anthony, talking to him earlier in the weekend, he said, to be honest with you, we're desperate for a win. Anthony said, I'm desperate for a win. Driving for Ferrari, so we've been close. We haven't been able to make it happen. Normally, he said, I'm all about letting Emil drive. He can get in and do as much as he wants. Well, we talked about it, and we said, if we're in a position, we may change it up. I may get in earlier and just go. I'm ready. I'm raring to do it. And apparently so. When they did that change just shortly after the half-hour mark of that first caution, Anthony was in, and he's gone to the front, and he is stretching it out. This would be a huge thing. Think about Tagliani in Ferrari, Lazzaro in Ferrari. It's a nice thing, too.
Oh, it would be spectacular. And I was shocked in talking to Anthony this year at Daytona at the Rolex 24 when he said, you know, if I complete this season and run every race, and I said to him, is there something we don't know, or you're not planning to? And he just said, no, but this season, at the end of it, if I'm able to run every race, this will be my first full season in sports cars. And you think about all the racing that Anthony Lazzaro has done, whether it was in open wheel cars, his time in stock cars, it was interesting to me that he had never run a complete season in sports cars.
Well, we talked about Billy Johnson being super sub. Well, Anthony Lazzaro was super sub. He ran everything. Yep. He ran Trans Am. He ran, I mean, I don't care what it was. He was always in the mix.
You see the 42 working his way back by after the spin, and we talked about the problem for the 44. Second car in the shot.
Oh, there it is. That's what John Potter was talking about.
Yeah.
Debris from the signboard there is actually what did the damage to the front end. We see a piece of Gurney's car off the left side of that door.
Yeah, that was a door laying out there.
So it was a signboard. You really wouldn't think that that was solid enough, but it must have just caught the edge.
Look at Pruitt.
Right, look at Pruitt.
Yeah, this is Gurney. He's basically just gone down a lap.
So we've got Jordan Taylor up front, Scott Pruitt now up to second. What a rebound performance by the Ganassi Racing team.
And Bourdais will serve a penalty, a stop and hold for 60 seconds for avoidable contact. Pruitt wide in turn 6 as he came back to the banking.
Another little error. He doesn't make many errors over the course of his career, but right there, in with too much speed. He knew what he was in too deep. He just carried it around the outside, but you could make that into a problem too.
But how good is the car? I mean, it did have contact. It may not be particularly square. And speaking of square, when you run an oval, it's a somewhat asymmetrical setup, which means there's not as much weight on all 4 corners. The car's not as balanced as well because you want it to go fast and turn left. Braking can be an issue.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. The braking is what's really affected when you do that, when you cross bias it. You see him again right there. Gets on the brakes, the whole car just pushes wide. He's going to have to back up his braking just a little bit and get that
Maybe they can do a change. We expect them to maybe come in the pits one more time. Maybe they can throw some fresh rubber on at the very end of this race and just get that balance a little bit more sweet, get it in the sweet spot. This is Jeff Siegel really starting to put the pressure now on Anthony Lazzaro. He is coming, and he is coming hard. Looks like he's got a bit more straightaway speed, and he's pulling the draft there as we ran this oval as well.
Speaking of the draft, we haven't seen much of that, and that's surprising on this big oval because they are on 9/10 of the oval, wide open. They're all wide open for 72% of an entire lap. So drafting would be a help.
Teammates, but not really teammates. AIM Autosport involved with running both of these cars. Remo Ferri owns the 61, AIM the 69. They work out of the same tent, but they are doing battle on the racetrack. We'll be back to more Rolex action from Kansas. Beautiful shots of downtown Kansas City. We talk about this being a sports town. Arrowhead Stadium last night, the Chiefs played, and what a great downtown area. Plenty of restaurants, places to hang out in the evening. Of course, we were all back in bed early doing our homework, I know that, but Kansas City, an awesome place. Back to racing. Jordan Taylor leading in the black and orange number 10 Corvette. It goes by. Right behind him, the 0-1 of Scott Pruitt. Even after the early problems, Pruitt now up to second. Greg has more from the Ganassi camp.
Yeah, I'm standing by with Tim Keene. And Tim, I guess the only good thing about having something happen that early in the race is it gives this remarkable team an opportunity to strategize, come up with something, and put Scott in the car.
Yeah, you know, I was pretty mad there at the beginning of the race. We haven't had very good luck the last 4 races with decisions being made in the cockpit. And the guys on the Telcel team have been doing an awesome job. And, you know, everybody, Chip Ganassi's just trying to rally behind this. And we're not out of this championship. We're not giving up. So, you know, it's good to see us running back up front.
And with some amazing laps, so obviously the car is in great shape.
Yeah, we had a good car off the trailer, and fortunately the damage we did get, we were able to bear bond back up, and seems like we're still able to do good laps, and I think we got a plan here for the end, so I think we'll be all right.
All right, he's up on the wheel. Let's get down to Chris.
Well, I've been watching the timing board, and Jordan Taylor and Scott Pruitt trading some very fast times on the racetrack, and one nervous guy is Wayne Taylor. Wayne, that 01 car is definitely coming. How worried are you?
Well, I think if everybody's watching the same race that I'm watching, it's becoming clearer and clearer that there's such a disadvantage here with our Chevy Motors compared to BMW. You know, they never show their hand, but unfortunately they had made a mistake early on, and they're about a half a second quicker than anybody. So they're a great team, and they do a great job. But I think I have a better team and a better driver in the car right now.
Well, Wayne
didn't mince any words.
No.
He just sent me a text, actually, talking about that balance of performance. I won't share the other words that he put in the text.
Let's just say he's not too happy about it.
He's not pleased at all. That new 4.5-liter BMW power plant has been strong from the get-go.
Got pegged back a little bit, remember, after that initial debut at Indianapolis. Lost 150 RPMs. We talked about the Fords gaining 200. Chevys have remained the same, and obviously Wayne believes, even though they're leading this race, that they're at a bit of a disadvantage with this new BMW power plant.
Well, this is the track that it should do well on. I mean, we're talking about a 4.5-liter. It's lighter. Okay, it runs more RPM. It's got an extra gear to 6-speed instead of a 5. It has also got a lower center of gravity. It really thrives on momentum. Where are we at? We're on an oval. It's all about momentum. That car should be good here.
Hey, guys, you guys are talking about engines, and obviously that's a huge story here. But what about the bodywork on these cars? Generally, the Corvette bodywork is considered to be more draggy, and here you want it as trimmed out as you can. That a part of it?
Well, I mean, the aero plays into it without a doubt. You know, we're running at night now. we looked at the segment times. When you're up there on the banking, you're about on wide open throttle for about 30 seconds of that lap. When you get down to the infield with all the braking and so forth, there's about 40 seconds on the infield. But that being said, this infield is really flat, and there's not much to it corner-wise, to be quite honest. It's 2 long straightaways, so trim it out.
And that's one thing that Scott Pruitt really likes. He likes a free race car, a loose race car, where it doesn't have that nice, comfortable feeling in the rear. And if you can handle a car like that, you can trim it out, you can have a little less drag, and hence more top speed.
And Scott is very familiar with ovals. He's no rookie around oval track racing, so, I mean, he likes a loose car. A loose car is fast on an oval always.
Understand the 63, Alessandro Balzan in 3rd in GT, getting a furled black. That's a rolled black flag. It's kind of the you've been naughty, knock it off flag, and I'm not exactly sure what it's for because no one's around him right now, but Balzan being warned about something. Also, Sebastian Bourdais, another stop and hold for more contact on the racetrack, so he's not having a good night. Checking the pits with Chris.
We'll talk about the Ganassi group recovering this weekend. Also, Mike Shank's group had a big recovery after that wreck in practice that John Pugh had. A lot of damage to that car, but running in the top 3 right now.
It's good. I mean, it's really good. The car's not exactly perfect, but it's running in the top 3. I'm just happy for John and Oz and the team after a huge effort yesterday just to get it done. The Aerotech car did a great job, and we'll see what happens. The 6 car got hit in the back end on the last run, shut all the power off. We kind of half-fixed it, too. They had a good run going with Gustavo Joachim leading all those laps. All we can do now is just do some strategy at the end and see if we can get to the front.
Yeah, problems with that 6 car. He came in for another pit stop, and I took a look at it. There was definitely some damage to the exhaust on that car.
That's a problem. I mean, obviously the damage to the front end from the 60 yesterday was a big problem, but damage to the back, if it closes off those exhaust pipes, you really lose the power, and you got to worry about overheating.
Both correct. Yeah, you lose power because it just can't breathe anymore. That puts the combustion temperatures pretty high inside the cylinders, and sooner or later you're going to have to fix it.
Yeah, the biggest concern is having a motor problem because of that. Dorsey's going to lose a bit of performance, but you don't want to burn it down either.
Right now, Oz Negre trying to burn it down and close back in on the group running up front. Negre in that red and white number 60, looking to move forward. He's got to catch Scott Pruitt, who's well ahead of him. You see the 99 Gainsco entry, 2 cars ahead. So Alex Gurney back out with that door taped on, but they are down 1 lap, and a problem for one of the Turner BMWs, the 94.
It sure is.
Behind the wheel right now.
I don't think anybody helped him. I think that was one on his own. And again, with Bill Oberlin's, he doesn't make very many mistakes. We'll see again, I'm sure, what happened there.
What an uncomfortable place to be. You saw all the traffic going by.
Yeah, but the hot tires, looks like he may have stalled it trying to get it going.
Yeah, it's running pretty rich right now. He's trying to get it fired back up. Now he's got it going. Be able to take a look. I think he just gets in.
I think he may have tagged the rear end of the 73 just enough to catch the front end of the BMW and turn him.
And probably knowing he was going to hit, added some brake pressure and turned himself around.
Just kind of stopped the nose and allowed the rear end of that BMW to keep coming around. And so Oberlin goes around. Meanwhile, still 3 Ferraris up front in GT. Patrick Long running 4th. Then Johnson in the 93, the Turner Motorsports BMW. Billy Johnson running in 5th. That is the top 5 in GT. Oberlin was having a decent run going until that spin.
They're coming off a win at Road America, actually a double podium for the Turner Motorsports boys. Michael Marcel and Maxime Martin finished 3rd in that race, so showing a lot of strength here in the mid part of this season.
Good news, there's no damage done. It's just a spin right now. You just go back to work.
Winner from the last round, the number 8. Brendan Hartley right there in front of the number 6 of Justin Wilson. You ride on board with Wilson. They've traded spots a couple of times here in the last lap, so a good run. Hartley, one of these young kids who just really shines. He won, I think, the New Zealand Formula Ford Festival at like age 13.
Right. You can't help but like him. I mean, he's such a likable interview when you talk to him and so forth. He's a very, very talented driver.
Spoke to him this week, and he said it was such a relief to get that win. We came so close at Coda when I made that little mistake and being too aggressive in traffic. Here we see a little bit of argy-bargy. This is down in turn 6, Dorsey, right there.
Just a little kiss, no biggie.
Yeah, nothing big.
Just want to let you know I'm here. So just a little bit of contact, slight contact. It didn't look like it hurt either one of the cars. Wilson's continuing to give chase.
I asked Brent.
You heard Mike Shank say the car just not quite square, not right where we want it to be.
Talking to Brendan Hartley, I said, when was the last time you had a win? And he said, well, I hate to say this, but it was 2009
European Formula 3 race, so he said it's been a while. It's been a bit of a drought. Come so close. He's also running in the ELMS, another sports car championship over in Europe this year, and he said we'll let a ton of races, but we can't seem to get it closed over there either.
You know, it wears on you when you haven't won a race in a while. You don't really think about it, but guys like us keep asking about it, so you can't put it away.
Somebody pulls out a record book and reminds you of when it was, and that's not what you want to see. What Jordan Taylor would like to see is a checkered flag. This championship has been up and down all season long, especially in Daytona Prototype. And the number 10 team, Velocity Worldwide, they'd like a victory. 84 laps complete, 45 minutes to go from Kansas Speedway, the Rolex Sports Car Series. Brian Till, Calvin Fish, Dorsey Schrader, Greg Kramer, and Chris Neville with you here. And it has been a rough and tumble one so far. From the drop of the green, good stuff up front. We said there was bad blood between our pole sitter Gustavo Yackaman and Memo Rojas. Well, it didn't involve Gustavo Yackaman. It was Christian Fittipaldi that Memo Rojas got into.
Memo dived down the inside there, turned Christian around. He got a penalty for that. Then Problems for our championship leader, had a quick spin early on, then major contact with the wall.
RG Bargy in pit lane as two of the GT guys want to argue about who should be in the lead.
It's Alex Tagliani and Patrick Long, and that argument lasted for several laps, and then a big one.
Sebastian Bourdais tried to force his way through a gap that wasn't there on the Red Dragon right there. You see it, we're on board with Stefan Sarrazin. He gets involved. So two of the orange 8-star motorsport cars involved. Then our championship leader in the GT class, Doors.
Andy Lally hits debris from that wreck and takes out the radiator, and boy, the guys in Magnus Racing are not happy. And then his hands aren't happy either.
Yeah, and the debris, just a piece of signage. That's all it took to go through the radiator. The 6 is in.
Back time in the race. They're now in their fuel window where they fill this car up. He can get to the checkered flag even under green flag condition. Not taking tires here, so these Continental tires are working brilliantly around this very tough Kansas Speedway.
Took a tear off the windscreen so you can see in the night.
Dominoes will start to fall here. I think they're going to force the other leaders to come in. You can't afford now. If one of the leaders has pitted and stayed on the lead lap, you need to come also. If there's a yellow, pit lane would be closed and you'd lose the advantage.
And there's your 10. He's coming.
This will be a longer one. This will be a longer fuel stop. Jordan Taylor has about 11 laps more on board in terms of the fuel run here.
I would expect to see exactly what we saw with the 6. If the Continental tires are holding up well on everyone, you don't want to take the time to put them on. A long run down pit lane for Jordan Taylor.
And that's a longer run on those tires, so that would be a gamble for those guys to not take tires. It looks like they're going to take them, Chris.
They are going to take tires, and for the last 10 minutes, crew chief Simon Hodgson telling Jordan Taylor on the radio, push, push, push. I want you to try and stretch this lead out. Try and build some distance between he and Pruitt. Well, he never get away from Pruitt, but he was able to build 12 seconds between first and third. Oz Negri back in third place. So fuel, tires, just waiting for the lead. And Jordan Taylor's down and away. Greg.
The 5 is in as well. They are already down and off the jacks. Great stop. They've been nailing it today. 4 tires and fuel. They're good to go as well with fresh rubber.
Yeah, there's been some brilliant pit starts by the Action Express group. When they beat the Velocity Worldwide team off a pit line, they've really been the benchmark this year. You were doing something right.
Kind of wonder if they did any tire pressure adjustments on Jordan Taylor's number 10, because that car was bottoming out that whole fuel stint that time.
6 cars got a lap on his tires. He's got some tire temperature. Can he get around him? Yes, he does.
Well, yeah, he does.
Powers around.
Good stuff on an outside move in a place you would not expect it. You saw the 6, Justin Wilson, really pressing forward. Will anybody else go with that strategy and try to double stint the Continentals to the end?
Yeah, Wilson had not made a pit stop, in fact, so he had well warmed up Continentals underneath him, so that was an easy pass for him. What will everyone else do? I think you probably got to follow the lead. Here's the 60 car in.
Oz Negri having a great run. You think about that crash they had in practice. So much damage to the front of this car. It's working well. Just going to do right side Continentals on the 60 car, waiting for fuel. So tire changers now done with right side. Drop the car, and they pull the rig back. He's down and away.
I like that.
It is a team in need of a win. I mean, what it would be.
I like the call, though. 2 tire changes going to be quicker, but he's going to have that right side fresh rubber. That's good stuff.
Now, what's that going to do, Dorsey? You've got more grip on one side than you do on the other. How imbalanced will the car be as we see the 0-1 come to pit road?
First couple of laps, it's going to be a handful. It's going to be all over the place, particularly in braking. We're going to see Scott Pruitt now come in for a service, see what kind of tire issue they take on.
Most of the cards have been played for the leaders down pit lane. The 0-1 now time to play their hand and answer back. Pruitt to the marks.
And they wanted to wait as long as possible because they're a little bit better in terms of fuel. They figured they could put less in. They are going for, it looks like, all 4 tires. Doing the right rear, doing the right front, and indeed going to go ahead and do the lefts. So they've opted to do all 4, take advantage of that. Other cars just on 2. Tires are in. It's down, just waiting on that last little bit of fuel. It's out. He's away. Great comeback story. Will it continue?
Well, that was a great tire change there because they still beat the refueling, so that's a no-brainer. If you can beat the refueling, take tires. Great call.
The 8 is in. Brendan Hartley. It looks like it'll be Continental tires on the right side of that car as well, Chris.
That's right, just right side rubber on Brendan Hartley. Waiting a little bit more fuel on this BMW-powered car, but they're already, and he's down and away. This team having another good run after their win at Road America last week.
I like the 2 strategy, though. It's cold out or it's cool out at night. You know, it could play dividend.
GT cars now pitting. The 69 of Anthony Lazzaro in. Tires going on, the fuel going in. Lazzaro with a great run. You talk about how desperately they want this victory, and he was very, very quick on track. Taking a long time. Fuel finally done. Lazzaro now underway.
Very much in the thick of this championship, coming in here just 16 points behind Lally and Potter. Remember that 44 car had the radiator damage. This is going to be a big points gain for Anthony and Emil Asentado tonight. Emil Asentado remarkably going for a 3rd GT championship as a Pro-Am driver.
You can really see when Lazzaro released that pit lane speed limiter button, how the car bucked and slid sideways on those cold Continental tires. The 42 now in.
This team had such a brilliant run at Road America last week, grabbing the pole. Dane led the early laps, dominated. Wayne Nonamaker took over, did a brilliant job leading the race for many laps, eventually falling to 2nd, but coming into the pits in a fine 2nd place. Dane got it back to the front. They had that drive shaft issue. That was a heartbreaker for that team, but really a coming out party for both those young drivers.
Dane Cameron showed us so much. Now the 63 Ferrari in.
Alessandro Balzan not taking any Continental tires on this step, just taking fuel, currently 3rd in this championship, 11 points behind Potter and Lally. He's going to make up some space tonight with problems with the radiators on that Porsche, and also now seeing the Stevenson Camaro coming into pit lane for its final stop, 2nd in the championship. So we're going to see this GT championship close up even more after tonight. Going to go 4 tires, fuel, and a driver change on the 57.
Yeah, this is a bit of a surprise. John Edwards pulled double duty here today, ran in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge race. We won't tell you the result. He had a good run there, though. Now he's getting back in, having started the race.
Oh, look at this. Just moments ago, contact out on the racetrack between the 57 and the 60 of Oz Negre there at the hairpin.
So the 6 car got around him. So Justin Wilson has leapfrogged around his teammate, Oz Negre. And how much damage has Negre got from that collision with the 57 car?
The 57 looks good. I don't know about Oswaldo. You know, his car might have taken the worst for the wear there.
So John Edwards, a driver change. Interesting. There's the 73 car with damage to the back.
Yeah, and by the way, the Park Place 73 Porsche came in fuel only. They stayed with the tires, and Pat Long was in and out very quickly. Obviously, they're feeling pretty good about the setup on that car, willing to risk it on used tires to the finish.
Well, I'd say one thing, used tires, it twitched pretty good back there in the brake zone. I mean, it didn't look like they had a lot of grip.
Now, one thing about not taking tires, it makes sense if you're short filling the car, but if you're stationary for 30 seconds anyway, filling the car up, why not take tires? Unless you're out of your allotment, and they do have an allotment for the course of the weekend, unless you don't have any fresh tires left, then, oh, look at this.
Ah, the fueler.
Unbelievable. The fuel neck is still inside the neck of the car here.
Got stuck.
And the 6 is off. A problem for the 6.
I can't believe the action in this race right now. There is drama happening all the way around this racetrack.
Well, that fuel nozzle is going to be a stop and hold for 30 seconds. That's mandatory. This, I don't know what's going on with Oswaldo there, but
this is
Justin Wilson. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Wow.
So you saw that fuel connector. It's ripped the hose off of it for the 61 Jeff
There
Siegel.
it is.
Still attached to the vehicle.
Obviously, Jeff left the pit box early, was possibly released or just jumped the gun a little bit. Let's wait and see here.
This is potentially a really hazardous situation.
Oh, it's stuck.
Oh, it's stuck. Yeah,
It's
it's stuck.
So they saw him start to pull. He would have got the call on the radio, go, 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 and it got stuck, and he had to take another bite at it and couldn't get it done.
You would expect it to come right out. He pulled, and he actually got 2 pulls on it, but still too late to stop Jeff Siegel, who had already put it into launch mode and was ready to go.
That's just a bad break. That is just a really bad break, because the pit box would have been seeing the refueler come back, pulling it out in that split second. That's what you're looking for when you're in a big fight like you're seeing here tonight. You need those precious tenths of seconds, and that was just a really, really piece of bad luck.
Yeah, he gave it 2 really hard tugs and then bailed, which I would have done too, because that usually is a bad deal.
Now Brian Sellers in, sharing that car with Mark Bowden, the 46 Fall Line Audi. They've had an excellent run here. Yeah, Brian Sellers had a penalty earlier, but you've got to be impressed with what Sellers has done in the 46.
Came in the lead of this motor race, having gone down a lap with that penalty. So a great charge by Brian Sellers. He and his teammate Mark Bowden doing a brilliant job here tonight. And again, you can see you're always waiting on fuel with a full fuel load, so those tires can be changed.
Boy, a long stop here waiting for that fuel to get in the Audi R8. But you know, talking with this team, they're definitely bullish on where they're headed with the aero balance on this car. What they found at Road America, that new diffuser, they're hoping that that can be homologated before we get to Laguna Seca. And obviously that car is going to come to life.
Well, and you know, the talk is they want to run full time in GT next year. And if I know Mark Bowden, he likes to run multiple cars, so that could be interesting. Now here's on board with Justin Wilson going into turn 6.
Really on the brakes deep there. Not sure if there was any fluid on the racetrack, but Justin really just had to straight line it. All locked up there.
You know what he did too, once he locked up, he tried to release brake pressure and try to not flat spot that tire, but I think it's too late.
You don't want to just hit that oval at the degree of banking there. It'll just literally rip that front splitter off. Brendan Hartley did that earlier in the weekend.
What are you hearing in the Shank camp,
Well,
Chris?
the reason he locked it up is because he had no steering. The steering rack on this car broke, and it came into pit lane. And as soon as they got it up in the air, both the front tires just turning in opposite directions. So he had no steer with this car. And pretty interesting, because this car has a 2nd generation steering rack on it specifically for a racetrack for this. So talking with Mike Shank earlier in the weekend, he said they felt like they had an advantage because a track like this puts so much load on that steering rack, and they didn't think they were going to have any problems.
Wow, a failure you don't expect to see, but this is something you expect to see. A battle up front in Daytona prototype. Young Jordan Taylor in the black and orange number 10 Velocity Worldwide Corvette, holding on to the point, but barely, from Scott Pruitt. And at the beginning of the program, you'd have a hard time thinking that the 0-1 would be there, but he has worked his way back. And Scott Pruitt really charging on. For more on the 61, let's check back with Greg.
Yeah, they're in now for their stop and hold, just leaving the pit lane for leaving earlier with that fuel hose attached. Actually, the connecting rig. To add insult to injury, they had to come in just before that penalty to actually take care of that. The guy reached over the wall, it popped right out. It's just frustrating beyond belief, I'm sure.
This is a disappointment. You see Justin Wilson's car, Mike Shank Racing 6, going behind the wall with that steering rack. Those are not repairable easily, and it's over with.
Teams have done a lot of work on the power steering pumps. The loads through the high banks, Brian, really caused some problems for the teams earlier in the weekend.
40-plus laps led by the 6, but the ones that matter won't be led. Will Jordan Taylor lead the final? We'll find out when we come back to Kansas. Well, the scenery hasn't changed much here at Kansas Speedway, meaning that Jordan Taylor still out in front, and Scott Pruitt in the blue and white 0-1 still right on his tail as they flash by the GT Audi, the number 46 blue and white Audi R8 of Brian Sellers, running in the GT category. But this is the battle in Daytona prototype, the lead class, down into turn 1, and you can see how dark it is. Taylor leads, Balzan in GT, Miller in GX. 3 cautions and 6 lead changes. 3 cars out of the race.
This is a real test for Jordan Taylor. He wanted to finish the races. His dad wanted him to finish the races. Can he bring it home? He's going to be under tremendous pressure here for the final half hour of this race, holding off a multiple DP champion, Scott Pruitt, one of the best in the business, recognized as the benchmark.
but he's now going up against one of the new young guns, and it's so exciting in this championship right now, Dorsey, when we see guys like Dane Cameron, Brendan Hartley, and the Taylor boys putting in these sort of performances.
Yeah, young guys are really doing a good job. Scott Pruitt back behind there just laid down a lap equal to what we had for pole position today. So both these cars are really flying.
Well, we talked at the beginning of the program about young guns and veterans. Scott Pruitt, the veteran, Jordan Taylor looking to put his name in the record books like the man that's behind him, who he respects tremendously. Jordan Taylor getting some opportunities driving with Corvette in their Le Mans program. He's being recognized, but he wants to put his stamp on it. He wants to finish. He wants to beat Scott Pruitt on the racetrack.
And you can see Jordan right there really flailing through that corner. Got up on the curb and the car loose for the second lap in a row.
Yeah, his brother Ricky wanted to do the same thing the past couple of years, running for Wayne Taylor Racing under the SunTrust colors. Now we've got the Velocity Worldwide banner on the number 10 machine. They've been doing a brilliant job this year. Couple of victories, then had some bad luck, few mistakes, and suddenly they're in the thick of this championship battle. There's going to be a shake-up here tonight with the two cars' issues.
Jordan got a break in traffic there, used two GT cars as a pick, and opened up a gap on Pruitt.
Alessandro Balzan in the 63, leading in the GT category, and even with a penalty earlier on, they've fought back from that and done well. So Balzan, Lee Keen, that seems to be a good combination. They have been very strong. They qualified on pole at Road America, and a good run here.
Here comes Pat Long, though. He hasn't given up the chase. Didn't take tires. I'm not sure that strategy is going to play out. He's looking pretty strong right now, but he's still got another 28 minutes to run out here. So we'll have to see how that strategy works out. These Continental tires have really done a brilliant job on these high lows that are demanded here at the Kansas Speedway. But Balzan looking for his first victory of the year. Come close so many times, putting in really good point scores, but he needs a win now if he's going to go after that championship.
They run a different Continental tire here. It's the same one that they run at Indianapolis and on some of the higher load racetracks like Watkins Glen. So they seem to have really hit upon a tire that's very durable and stays consistent. And the guys like him, and that's why Patrick Long has no qualms about trying to double stint him to the end. Jordan Taylor, a little bit of a gap that time, perhaps using GT traffic to pull out over Pruitt.
Yeah, they both those guys, Pruitt and Taylor, lost quite a bit of ground in terms of their lap time on that last lap. Pruitt lost a couple of seconds, Taylor lost 1 second, so that's the reason for the gap. We'll have to assume that that was GT traffic created that. So this will really be the test. Wayne Taylor said, you know, when the cat's out of the bag and they have to go, let's see what the 01 has in terms of pace.
It was, in fact, GT traffic that did it. Jordan did a really good job. He caught those cars at the right moment, and it didn't hold him up as much as it did Scott. I'll tell you how good they're doing. I mean, just look at that time. 10-4, 10-1. Those are good, respectable numbers. We were at 9-8. Those what our pole is.
Yeah, we're almost to pole times, and remember they were running on sticker tires in qualifying. Just a lap ago, Pruitt pushing so hard, he made a mistake. It just gives you an idea of just how hard everybody is digging. Take a look at this.
Around the outside of GT traffic.
Through into turn 5, and Pruitt just gets in really deep, and that's where he lost that second on Jordan Taylor. Just got really aggressive there, runs up on the banking a little bit. It'll allow you to do that. You can't take advantage and pass anyone. That was the word in the drivers' meeting with Paul Walter. But Pruitt's just digging deep. They need a victory. It's been a long time since they had their last win back at Road Atlanta.
I think he's inspired too. When you put him in a deficit, like I said earlier in the broadcast, when you put him behind the 8 ball, he always rallies. I mean, he's a tough old guy, and he really gets the car between his teeth and gets going.
Well, you think about championship, it's Jordan Taylor and Max Angelelli that are 5th in the championship. Scott Pruitt, Memo Rojas 6th. So this has championship implications. We keep saying it's the championship that no one wants to win. When anybody seems to get to the top, they throw it away in the next event.
It's going to be really tight here tonight. If they finish where they do right now, it'd be tight, but even tighter still if Pruitt can get around Jordan Taylor. That is a huge point swing. He would gain 3 points by getting the lead, and the 10 car would lose 3. So that is a 6-point swing, and that is massive at this late stage in the championship chase.
Well, Jordan looks really good on the infield here. That car really working well. Drops a wheel right there.
talk about the season that they've had or that they haven't had. They started off good, obviously. The win at the Rolex 24 at Daytona. The first 4 races weren't bad at all. Then it all went south.
Well, I think the Yakima factor was right in the middle here at Detroit and Mid-Ohio. Mamo and Gus couldn't seem to stay apart from each other on the racetrack. Watkins Glen has a problem in pit lane where they took off with the refueling rig still attached, and then they came back. They got that new motor 2 races ago for Indy and at Road America. They've got a lot more pep in their step, but right now still looking for the top step of the podium.
That's a new criteria. I hadn't heard that one.
What's that?
Yakima factor.
The Yakima factor. Well, and you know, you got to give it to Gustavo Yakima. Yes, they've had a problem and they're out, but he led 43 laps today. He ran a great race at Road America. And look at this. Maybe, and he does. Jordan Taylor uses traffic yet again to pull out a little bit of a gap over Scott Pruitt.
And that was nothing you could defend about right there. Scott just got the wrong place, right time.
And that is multi-class sports car racing. Sometimes the traffic works for you. Other times it works against you. Timmy Keene looking on, trying to get his driver, Scott Pruitt, to the front, but Jordan Taylor firmly in the way. Anthony Lazzaro giving you a ride around Kansas Speedway on the banking right now of the oval, but we're running the 2.3-mile road course here. It's the Rolex Sports Car Series at Kansas. First time the series has been here, and this brand new road course has led to some pretty exciting racing. Heavy braking down for turn 1. And here we talk about exciting racing. 2 Ferraris, 61 and 69.
61 is a lap down, remember, because of that penalty, the refueling neck that got torn off.
The overall leader's right behind him. You're seeing right there, the 10 Jordan Taylor, Scott Pruitt right behind him. See who gets through this traffic clean.
And Jordan Taylor has been able to use traffic. He's going to get 1 Ferrari in between, but Pruitt slides right up on his tail, and this time perhaps the traffic works against Jordan Taylor just a little bit.
But he's managing it well. He's not being desperate. He's not getting down the inside, logging up brakes or anything like that. He's just really reading it very well. There you see the 61 kind of gets in Pruitt's way a little bit there, so he kind of even Steven as you come out of this situation in terms of dealing with the traffic. The gap will be about the same.
But we talk about the number 63 leading. They've had a good run here. They had a good run at Road America, Chris.
Yeah, Alessandro Balzan and Lee Keene looking for their first win. Balzan having 3 different co-drivers this year, and you're really obviously working out well. Chemistry starting to build between the 2 of you.
Yeah, the chemistry was pretty much immediate. You know, the team called me up after my drive at the 69 car at Watkins Glen and said, we want you for the rest of the season to kind of help us win this championship. They've been right in the hunt. You know, we're in 3rd right now, and having 2 championships under my belt, definitely figure I could come in and help them. I flew out to California, Beverly Hills, and was driving a Ferrari around Beverly Hills a week later, and then I've been racing with these guys, and I'll finish the season. And couldn't be happy. It's a great group of guys, and Balzan is very good. He's won a lot of championships over in Europe, and you know, I'm just trying to kill some time over here. Usually I'm in the car finishing, but you know, it's his championship to win, and it's a little bit nerve-wracking.
Well, obviously we want to see you back in the series. Any plans for next year?
You know, a lot of things. I think all the drivers are juggling right now. It's really exciting what's going to happen next year, and definitely hope, and I think I'll be there for sure.
Yeah, he's trying to stay cool down here. Sitting down, playing with his phone, looking at Instagram.
Well, thank God he's sitting down, because otherwise he'd be about 12 inches taller than you are. Right? That means he'd be about 18 inches taller than we are.
Captain, we'd look good in Beverly Hills, wouldn't we?
Yeah, what is that? We're doing the wrong thing, aren't we?
Pretty cool. I'll tell you what, Alessandro Balzan, though, just laid down at 15.5. Pat Long chasing him at 16.0. So certainly Balzan seems to have the pace right now to hang on, and maybe he can score that first victory of the year.
I think the strength of the Ferrari, obviously it handles well, it goes, it does all that, but it's very good on its tires, and that's what everybody says. The balance of the car is such that tire wear is very minimal.
You know, you see these guys take a big, long stint in the Ferrari. They come out there always smiling. They said, this is so much fun to drive. You know, it looks like it is. It doesn't favor the front or the rear. It's very balanced and runs the tires off evenly.
I think the balance is the key part. You're on this speedway for a long time, nearly a mile and a half, because you pretty much use all of it, flat out, wide open throttle, but you need good balance to get through that oval section, and that's what the Ferraris had all season long, and it's paying dividends. They are 1, 2, 3 in qualifying, and they sit 1 and 4 right now on the racetrack.
Well, and who sits 3rd in GT is Billy Johnson, having one heck of a run, Greg.
Yes, he is, kind of quietly, but suddenly there. I mean, they're right there in third and going way back to the start of the race. I talked to Will Turner, the team principal, and he said, you know, this race, we're on the I tire from Continental, and we were on the R. He said, our car likes the R tire a lot. At Road America, we were able to extract a lot out of it. We don't really get along with that I tire too well, and he said, we don't know what we have until it gets dark, until things start to cool and things settle out. I just checked in with him, and he said, I don't know what it is. He said, but suddenly that car feels great, and Billy is wheeling it. They're really, really happy with it right now. The problem, he said, we just don't have the pace for these Ferraris.
Be a great podium, 2 podiums in a row for Michael Marcel team with Maxime Martin at Road America. So great to see M&M back on the podium and in victory lane. Just got another text from Wayne Taylor who said, did you notice that Pruitt just ran a 9.7?
Paying all kinds of attention to the other car. Here's the 69 car. Anthony Lazzaro sharing that car with Emil Asentado. Great run early on and ran in the lead. Now they've dropped back. He's running 4th, but still, this is a good evening for these guys.
You know, it took a long time for the Ferrari to get its first win. It was always competitive. You know, the same thing we're talking about, Alessandro Balzan yet to win a race. That's hard to believe because they've been so good. Yet it took a long time to finally get that thing in the victory circle.
From 4th back to 5th in the order, John Edwards in the 57 Stevenson Motorsports Camaro. Big night for them considering the fact that John Potter and Andy Lally have had problems after the radiator issue that they had. So this is going to help them in their championship hunt.
Yeah, big time, and they've had 4 wins this year, but there's been some moments in this race as well. Look at this. This was the 60 trying to get up to speed on cold tires, and the 57 Rob Liddell dove down the inside. Oz started to come down on the apex. There was contact, but look at the battle up front. We're seeing our GT leader, and here come the overall leaders in this race. Jordan Taylor trying to make a move on Balzan and trying to keep Pruitt behind. Pruitt is putting the pressure on. He just ran the fastest lap of the race at a 109.7, 4/10 quicker than Jordan Taylor.
And quicker than the track record and the pole position from this morning.
Well, the one thing that Jordan Taylor's Corvette does seem to do is get the power down off of the corner. The BMW may have the legs at the end of the straightaway. You always say it, Dorsey, where is the finish line?
Yeah.
That's the key because you've got to have the speed to get you there. And as they come through the oval section, Pruitt closing in on that black number 10.
Well, he seems to have an advantage. You see it on the clock, and let's see what he does here. He's been sort of like weighing Jordan up, seeing if there's a weak spot anywhere. He looks to the inside there, but Jordan's really strong in that area of the racetrack. I really feel he's going to need to have a pick, don't you, Dorsey?
Yeah.
It's some traffic, sort of like hold Jordan up a little bit, and he'll gain more momentum and try and make a move that way. It's really tough to pass here as the Ganassi crew looks on.
That part of the racetrack we're in right now, this is where Jordan really seems to have the forte.
Look at him holding the middle of the road. He's kind of saying to Scott Pruitt, don't think about it, I got you covered.
Well, it already seems like with just over 14 minutes to go, is Jordan feeling a little defensive? You see him running offline a little bit. Yeah, saying don't try to make the move, but also trying to remove that temptation because he knows that Pruitt's right there behind him. In the beginning, Taylor had the traffic working for him, and right now, all alone, he seems to be losing ground to Pruitt.
Spun the wheels up right there. I would be on the radio right now saying, okay, Jordan, listen, 14 minutes to go. Concentrate on your launch. Concentrate on your launch.
Pruitt is closer. Pruitt is a little bit closer on this lap, but think about it, guys. They got a 17-second lead over Oz Negri in 3rd. They don't need to worry about lap time anymore. But Jordan Taylor's about positioning that race car so Pruitt can't get by.
And that launch, as long as he doesn't spin the tires, as long as he launches straight, he can accelerate those gaps between the corners.
Look at Pruitt. He looks to the inside, tries to thread the needle, but Jordan again defends that inside line down into turn 1.
But how much of that is an actual beginning of a move, and how much of it is it to put Jordan off of his game? He looks to the inside, Wayne going crazy down on the box. How much of it is it to get Jordan offline to make the defensive move so that Pruitt has the better exit? He is the master. He is the more experienced driver.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to have him in rearview mirror doing all this to you, but Jordan's got to just do his own deal. Don't look back there at him. Just every once in a while on the straightaway is where you want to look at him. Don't look at him going into the corner. You know, just make him do the corner right every lap.
And these guys have now learned this racetrack. They've had 2.5 hours to really get into the rhythm of this place. Know where you can pass, where you cannot pass, and that is really a big learning curve here. It's one thing to do practice days. It's another thing to be in a race and to have a multiple champion right on your tail right now, like Jordan Taylor has.
I think he's even closer than he was in the previous lap, held up just slightly by the GX Porsche through the banking again around the high side of one of the GX Mazdas.
Coming down to the line one more time, another lap in the books. Pruitt even closer into the braking zone of 1. Taylor somewhat defensive to the inside yet again. Pruitt closing right up, more traffic in front.
12 minutes is a long darn time when you got somebody on your tail like this.
Yeah, it's going to be about 11 laps. It is a long time to try and defend, but Jordan's done a great job so far. It's just a question of if that traffic works with him a little bit. You can get balked, you can get someone not see you, you lose that momentum. But Jordan's digging really deep. He's a really smart young driver. He's fast, but he is really savvy as well.
And hats off to Andy Lally in the Porsche, who moves out of the way, lets the battle go by, and it is continuing. Jordan Taylor trying to hold on. Scott Pruitt putting the pressure on. From Kansas Speedway, the Rolex Sports Car Series, round 10 continues. It is going to be a nail-biter to the finish. Don't miss it. Great stuff on the racetrack, but our Royal Purple Outperformer of the Race Award has to go to the Wayne Taylor Racing Crew, Velocity Worldwide. Their crew, the pit stops, has been what has propelled the 10 to the front, and that's what's given us this great fight on the racetrack. Just as we left it, Jordan Taylor holding off Scott Pruitt.
I'm liking what I see, though. Jordan Taylor, watch him when he gets down to turn 1 and up here. He'll really roll off the bright. He'll be slowing up really too much. Pruitt's going to close in like crazy. The reason he's doing it, he's going to be slow into the corner so he can get the launch off. And he'll open a gap of 1 or 2 car lengths on Pruitt when he does that.
The thing that he doesn't want to do, I mean, Jordan Taylor doesn't want to rush into one of these corners and slip up and open that door. So he's going to be a bit more conservative, realizing if I can just hit my marks and hold the line, that's going to be good enough. Max Angelelli looks on. They've had 2 wins this year. Can they get to the top of the podium for a 3rd time?
You saw it right there, and you'll see it again up here. He'll get on the brake real gently. Scott will pull right up underneath him. You see him right now, closing the gap. But watch now. He hammers that Chevy, and he's going to get a couple car lengths. There he goes.
And he's going to need it. You look in front. There is traffic in front. There's a Daytona prototype, and then 2 GT cars. They'll catch him in the braking zone. Traffic has worked for Taylor before.
Oh,
Will
he
it
looks
work
to the
now?
inside.
Oh,
Pruitt's going to get a run. Pruitt's going to get a run right here. Pruitt gets a run. A little slip there by Jordan. He looked to the inside. Memo Rojas, Pruitt's teammate, looks on anxiously.
He has the momentum. What can he do here as they come onto the banking? Taylor looking to get a little bit of a toe off the 57 Camaro. Does he get any at all? And now they're pinched down to the low side. Working traffic coming up on the BMW. Taylor forceful underneath.
Beautiful job by Jordan Taylor, who's remaining calm. You can just see it in the body language of that race car, Dorsey. He seems to be under control right now.
Now to take a deep breath right now, regather your skills all together, and get back to work.
Pruitt's just trying to figure it out, Brian. He's just working the lines. Where can I just find a bit more grip, maybe get a bit better launch? I would think through this turn 3, you might get a little bit of understeer there, Dorsey, if you get too close. A little bit of aero wash.
It's all about controlling the speed on the entry of the corner. You see it right here. Another of the GT cars in.
Oh, Jordan slips. He slips. Could this be it? He gets the power down coming off the corner. He had the traffic in front. 30-year age difference between these 2 drivers. 22-year-old Jordan Taylor, 52-year-old Scott Pruitt. And I'll tell you what, Jordan Taylor dodged a bullet right there.
That was the first crack that I've seen from Jordan Taylor. I think he's trying to figure out how to deal with that slower GX class traffic, and he made a little bobble there, but Pruitt wasn't close enough to take advantage.
There wasn't much room to take advantage either. He'd had to go around the outside. It would have been a long way. It wouldn't have probably worked.
Memo Rojas looks anxious. He looks concerned. He realizes that if they can get back to the top step of the podium, they have dodged a huge bullet after the problems early in this race for him with the contact with Fittipaldi.
Inside, 7 minutes to go. Taylor, one more time, down into turn 1, the same line, exactly what we've seen before. Pruitt closes up, and then the launch, the 10 car Velocity Worldwide Corvette, seems to jump off of that left-hand corner down towards the hairpin.
And that's what he's doing. Control that entry speed. Really block Scott. Make both cars come almost to a stop and then get to the throttle first.
As they're starting to get a little bit of tire wear, they may have to work with their brake bias a little bit. Maybe he's got to put a bit more front bias in it, Dorsey. Maybe the rears are starting to slip a little bit where the rear end's kind of trying to e-brake you around the corners here as they get into these hairpin turns. These are the subtle adjustments that the drivers can make with the equipment. And then, of course, it's all about driving and releasing that brake pedal as the grip starts to go away.
One of the better leads Taylor's had for a while. And speaking of lead, Alessandro Balzan still leads in GT, and Joel Miller still leading in the GX category.
Oh, a part just fell off.
Debris.
Something just came off, or debris came out from under that Mazda. Now for Scott Pruitt, what he needs to do, precedent's been set. He knows exactly what the game plan is now for Jordan Taylor. He knows he's going to roll lightly onto the brake. He's going to have to dive bomb in there.
This is the biggest gap we've seen in the last 10 or 15 minutes at the line into turn one. One more time.
See those brake rotors glowing there down into the hard braking zones. Here we see it. 38 car up ahead. That's Jim Norman, our championship leader in the GX class. And right there, little bobble there as Jordan tried to get it turning. I think he was looking to cut underneath Norman coming off that corner, tried to tuck it in. The grip wasn't there. He lost the rear end momentarily, Doss.
And luckily, he had that car still as a pick. He went around the outside, the only way you could have done.
And this is what multi-class racing is about. We've said it before. Just under 5 minutes to go. Should be just about 5 laps to go, 4 laps to go at the line this next time by. You would think Wayne Taylor looking on. I can't stand it to watch my children play baseball. How do you watch your child leading a Rolex Sports Car Series race, holding off Scott Pruitt with under 5 minutes to go?
And I tell you what, this championship season has been so bizarre. I don't think anyone counts anything until that checkered flag flies. We've seen so many bizarre moments this year, Dorsey. It's been hard to really account for everything that's happened on the racetrack.
Well, it's not over, but if there was ever any question, Jordan Taylor, whether he could close the deal or not, we're going to find it out right now. He's got a lot of pressure. The way I look at it, though, he's doing everything perfect, spot on.
And the one thing he does not want to see each time he gets into the infield is the brake lights of slower class cars in front. They can make or break this race, and right now, 2 GT Ferraris just in front.
That's Lazzaro, who's up to the 3rd spot in the GT class. The number 69 machine right in front of him. FXDD colors. Clears him nicely there. Yeah, no. It is such a relief when you get them in the right spots, Dorsey. This looks good.
It helped Pruitt up. Pruitt didn't make it through, so that slows him up, gives him a little gap. You'll see it open up here.
He should clear this next Ferrari up on the banking, so this should be an easy lap in terms of traffic for Jordan Taylor.
They have not had, Jordan Taylor and Max Angelelli, a top 5 finish since their win in Detroit. So it has been a long dry spell trying to get back to the top of the charts, and Taylor putting in a spectacular run, but still 3 minutes and change left.
And you see the difference what that one car did. Scott didn't get by.
Shout out to John Fricker, one of the Velocity Worldwide crew members who got injured at Road America in pit lane last week. He's not with us, injured his knee. I know you're watching, mate. The guys are doing a brilliant job. We look forward to seeing you back on pit lane.
Awesome, awesome stuff. We said the Rolex Sports Car Series, whenever you come to a new track and there are championships on the line, expect some epic racing. It's what we've seen tonight. Jordan Taylor continuing to hold on the point, and I think each time he's getting a little better drive off the corner. Pruitt's tires going away.
It looked like it. Pruitt got a lot of washout, a little bit of understeer there coming off of turn 4. He couldn't hold the car in, so maybe he's worked those Continental tires so hard he doesn't have the grip to get this lead away from Jordan Taylor. Look at Wayne Taylor, his father, anxiously waiting to see if he can bring it home. Memo Rojas as well, waiting to see what his teammate Scott Pruitt can do. He's seen him perform so many magic moments over the years. Does Scott Pruitt have a trick in his bag in his sleeve this week?
Not from that distance, I don't think. I mean, Jordan, what he's doing, he's squaring the corners off. He's slowing the car down, way down, more than it needs to, and he's squaring the corner so it's straight when he launches. He doesn't get the wheel spin. Scott's got to make up ground. He can't do that. He's got to drive a little more aggressively in that corner. Try to get on the throttle a little bit harder. Use those tires up.
Inside, 2 minutes to go. Alessandro Bolzon, 10 seconds and change in hand, the lead in GT. That is comfortable for him. Joel Miller still leading, and a comfortable lead as well in GX. Anything but comfortable in Daytona prototypes, because Scott Pruitt refuses to let go of that rear wing of the Velocity Worldwide Corvette in front. That blue and white 01 has been in the mirrors of Jordan Taylor since the last stop.
The gap looks good for the traffic, though. I think the traffic will not impede Jordan Taylor till he gets up onto the speedway again. So he's getting those little breaks right now, Dorsey, with about a minute to go.
As long as he catches those GT cars up on the banking, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't hurt him a bit. He doesn't want to get caught where he's in a launch zone. If he gets in a launch zone and he can't launch, he's in big trouble with Pruitt behind him.
I'll tell you what, there's danger in every corner as they go past the Porsche. You see the body work, you see the problems there. It's exactly what I was going to say. You'd never know. Bits and pieces of race car around the racetrack. The white flag flies. Jordan Taylor, 2.3 miles left to go, but he's got to get through 3 and 4 on the banking. where we just saw the problems with the Porsche.
And the bodywork just flew off the Porsche. It's laying right at the start-finish line. These guys will come to it under race condition.
0.6 of a second at the stripe, but Pruitt really makes up a lot of ground into that brake zone, into turn one. I think Jordan Taylor's just being real conservative there. There's the debris up on the banking. The team will radio that information to Jordan Taylor. He slips a little bit, coming off of turn 4. Pruitt putting the pressure on for the lead.
Now he's in the contention area. He can actually make a zone now. He can come into the brake zone, use up a little tire if he needs to.
This is it. Jordan Taylor has to hit his marks. The final corner to give him the drive onto the banking. He does. What does Pruitt have?
Pruitt tried everything. He threw everything but the kitchen sink at him.
On the oval.
Now, I just heard it right there. They've been told about the debris. It's not going to make any difference.
Let's do the tri-oval. Let's do the tri-oval. Debris in the middle of the track.
Here, Simon Hodgson saying debris in the middle of the track. Taylor with a comfortable lead. Comfortable for us, not for him, as he comes through the banking, looking for the line. The checkered flag flies. Jordan Taylor, Max Angelelli win in Kansas. The disappointment on the face of Memo Rojas and the elation on the part of the Velocity Worldwide crew. And for Memo Rojas, what could have been had he not have made the move.
And he knows it. You see right there in his face that he feels the full guilt of the problem they
He
had.
is gutted, Dorsey. He is gutted. It is such a tough position to be in, but congratulations all the way around. Brilliant job. There's Paul from Velocity Worldwide. He's a real character. Great to see him in the pit box this weekend.
Watch Pruitt. He'll come up alongside Jordan. Give him the, you did a great job, kid, because he did.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely stunning drive by Jordan Taylor. The pressure by one of the best in the business.
Aggressive, buddy.
Yeah, Simon Hodgson just said
perfect race, perfect strategy, perfect car.
This is a big win. They've had a couple this year, but this is big.
First win for this car if he can get it home. Alessandro Balzan, we've been waiting for it.
Close all year. Can he do it? Just through the tri-oval, they have dominated. He and Lee Keen, a great partnership. Keen, Balzan take the victory in GT in Kansas. And Joel Miller will bring home a victory in GX. Great stuff and a great inaugural run for the Rolex Sports Car Series from Kansas, the SFP Grand Prix. We'll be back for more. Who says you shouldn't have donuts late at night? Well, Jordan Taylor's having plenty of them, and we talked about fireworks early on. Plenty of fireworks. Celebrating here in Kansas and fireworks on the racetrack. A great run. Jordan Taylor sitting in his car. His 5th Rolex Series win. And I got to say, I think it was probably his most spectacular drive.
I second that one.
That was fantastic, withstanding that pressure. Chris?
Well, it's always so difficult to make that call, making a change on a team. Who's going to start? Who's going to finish? Jordan Taylor obviously has earned that right to be the closer on the team, and it paid dividends tonight, waiting to take his helmet off here. What a great run from this team, getting their 3rd win. First time at Kansas Speedway. Jordan, I think it was Sampson who got his power from his hair. I think you got a little magic from your mullet tonight.
Yeah, well, I'm glad I can at least drive with all my goofiness away from the track. Well, you know, I think this race is all strategy and just keeping the car up front. The guys had the perfect strategy, short fill at the beginning, and then I have to be the first one to make the last stop. Max is flawless, the guys are flawless, so great job for Velocity Worldwide.
Just an amazing drive for you, being pressured for almost the last hour by Scott Pruitt, guy who's won so many championships here. Did you ever think about that in your head?
Yeah, obviously it was in my mirror the whole time, and the guys are telling me who it was, but I mean, everyone in this series is fantastic. Everyone can win these races, so it was just glad to beat one of the best.
Congratulations to this team. I think they're leading the championship now. Greg?
Well, you may hear the roar that's going on, the screams right next door as Alessandro Balzan pulled this beautiful Ferrari into victory circle. You got out of the car, the entire team lifted you up and started celebrating. You've been waiting for this one so long. Finally, the win.
Too much waiting for this win because the team was so good for all the year from the first race we did. Car super good. I'm really happy to have Lee Keen in my car. It's really good, you know, to have a win in this point of the championship where you have to show that you are there. So I cannot ask really better from Scuderia Corsa, from the team, and from the baby.
From the baby, he says. Congratulations. Let's get back to Chris.
Well, and Joel Miller just getting his head sock off. Tristan Nunez getting 4 wins this year. Joel Miller, your 5th Obviously, everything going well with this Mazda team.
You know, this Diesel Sky Active program is really coming together. I can't wait to be a part of this program in the future. The Mazda 6 tonight was awesome. I mean, to stay together the whole race. This place is extremely fast, performed great. 5th win, 6th, or I think it's 7th win in a row for us. You'll have to correct me. Just awesome. I really have to thank the Lord for being here.
Yeah, this championship too in GX going to go down to the wire.
Absolutely, and we talk about the championships and how tight they were coming in. Well, wow. They got a little tighter.
Man. This is fantastic, boys. What a couple of rounds we got left. Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca, then we finish it off at the Bull Ring at Lime Rock Park, Dorsey. It's going to be fun.
Boy, there's all kind of different races. I'm going to call this one a feel-good race. You can't not feel good about this race.
No, spectacular, and the GT just as good. I mean, the championship there is tightening down, and it's one of those deals where Alessandro Balzon with that victory moves to the top. But Potter and Lally, yeah, they dropped back, but they've only fallen back by 1 point. Let's head back down to the pits, and Chris.
Well, and Scott Pruitt making his way into victory lane. Scott, another just amazing recovery from you guys. It was the spin at Road America. Thought you guys were out there. You fought back today. Contact early on, Memo Rojas. But you guys come back and get a second.
Oh, dude, I can't say enough for the Chelsea BMW guys. All the Ganassi guys just did a great job. Hi to my family at home. My tongue's hanging out, man. That was a lot. That was hard driving. Great race between the 10 car and us. Jordan did a great job. And, you know, you can't have mistakes like that, but it's good to see we can have recoveries like this. The points battle's still very much up in the air, and off to Laguna Seca.
You really were working over Jordan Taylor there for the last 45 minutes, but you just couldn't find a weakness.
No, we couldn't. I mean, their acceleration just crushed us. You know, they could, boom, just pop out 3 or 4 lengths. We kind of slowly get it back up under braking, but then they'd stretch it back out. So there was a couple times I thought about taking a move, but you can't without really knowing you can just get there. So,
well, nice run tonight.
Spectacular stuff from Kansas. Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. Up next for Chris Neville, Greg Kramer, Dorsey Schrader, Calvin Fish. I'm Brian Till. This championship, GT, Daytona Prototype, it's going down to the line. Don't miss a race. You'll catch them all on Fox. We'll see you there.